for listening to the interview from the BBC World Service. You'll find more in-depth conversations on the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts, including episodes with Nobel Prize-winning journalist Maria Ressa, the boss of Google, Sundar Pichai, and education activist Malala Yousafzai. Until next time, bye for now.
From the BBC, that was the interview. I'm Saroja Coelho, CBC.
Well, good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and welcome to a very special day of programming here at CBC. Every year, we come together to make the season kind. And we need to do that more than ever in Manitoba this year because we looked at the stats from the latest Stories of Hunger and Poverty in Manitoba 2025 Voices report, and they're really all tell a story, including the fact that 60,000 Manitobans, our friends and our neighbors, use a food bank each and every month. This morning, and in fact all day long, we come together with music and stories and ask you to consider a donation to Harvest if you can. We'll learn more about their program and agencies. So welcome to Friday. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team at the show, also a team setting up in Studio 41 for our live music. Really excited this morning to be here. You are listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. This is going to be a busy morning, so it's my only opportunity to say good morning to Abby Adeyemi, to Corey Funk, to Darren Marash, to May McKillop, to Bruce Layden, to Jeff Stapleton, everyone who is in our Studio 41 team, and as well as Justin Dealey. Thanks to everyone for coming together to make the show today. The Philharmonic Choir is warming up. Just heard them on the talk back, so we're getting ready to have them perform in the first hour of our show. Vince Barletta from Harvest will join us, but right now Matt Humphrey is here too, and he's here with your headlines. Hi, Matt.
Good morning. On theme, this morning we're hearing from Manitoba Charities, thrilled to hear they'll be getting extra cash this Christmas. The province says it'll sell its stockpile of U.S. liquor. Some $1 million worth has been gathering dust in a warehouse for months, casualties of the ongoing trade war with the Trump administration. But now, following the example set by Halifax, Manitoba, Nova Scotia rather, Manitoba will sell the booze and give the proceeds to holiday charities. More at 6:30.
All right. Thanks very much, Matt.
Back soon.
Well, let's talk about some of what we have coming up musically. I mentioned the Philharmonic Choir. They have some selections for us today. Also, in the second hour of the show, we have a Juno Award winner, Jocelyn Gould, who's going to be with us. So really looking forward to that. And then after 8 o'clock on the program, Arnold J. is going to be playing for us, and really looking forward to hearing from him this morning. So that's all of our musical talent. Vince Barletta will kick off Make the Season Kind right after 6 o'clock to tell us some of the highlights of the Harvest Report. Beyond users, the number of children in this province going hungry is still the highest in the country. Stay tuned.
On cue. The Deers were part of a movement of music from Canada around the early 2000s that changed everything. They and Stars and Broken Social Scene defined Canadian indie rock. So Murray and Natalia from the Deers will be here to talk about that time and what they had to go through to make their latest record.
And now war is at our doorstep.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Today in Washington, there will be a draw for the opening round of this summer's FIFA World Cup. Soccer fans will be watching closely to see how the 48 teams will be matched up, and political watchers will also be paying careful attention to see what happens on the sidelines between Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump. They are expected to meet briefly today, so let's bring in Janice McGregor from our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, what kind of expectations are being set by the Prime Minister's office ahead of this admittedly short meeting?
John, this event is going to be stacked with celebrities. It's a big FIFA commercial, really, for a global audience. Mark Carney can't walk into a venue that's going to be decked out with giant gold soccer balls and think Donald Trump's going to somehow lean in on softwood lumber. The Prime Minister's office yesterday was out lowering expectations, saying this encounter is going to be brief. Carney isn't going to the White House, but it will be the second time the two leaders have lined up for a friendly in the aftermath of the president's blow-up over those Ronald Reagan ads that the Ontario government ran during the World Series. Trump still hasn't followed through on his threat to slap more tariffs on Canada in retaliation. Negotiators still aren't back at the table. But across town today, it's going to be the third day of hearings as a parade of business stakeholders weigh in on the future of the three-way North American trade relationship, with the vast majority of them so far telling Trump's trade representative this deal could be improved, but it needs to continue. Canada's former chief negotiator, Steve Verhoeven, was among them yesterday, and this was his advice.
We need to be patient. Now is not a time when we're going to get a very good deal out of the U.S., but I think conditions will improve over time.
Anxieties may be running high at home, but if you read the room in Washington today, pretty clear the focus is going to be on TV ratings, not tariff rate quotas.
So, a three-way trade agreement and a three-way World Cup hosting. Mark Carney supposed to meet with the Mexican president today. What are you watching for there?
The minister in charge of Canada's negotiations, Dominic LeBlanc, he's been in Mexico this week, laying track towards a big trade mission set for February, and meeting with his counterpart at a time when they're both strategizing for the scheduled review of their shared trade deal next July 1st, which, funnily enough, just happens to fall smack in the middle of a certain high-profile footy tournament.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
Trade, defense, and strategic ties are all being discussed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit to India. But underlying much of the conversation is the Kremlin's war on Ukraine. Salima Shivji, our South Asia correspondent, has more from Mumbai.
A classical Indian dance on the tarmac as Vladimir Putin landed in New Delhi Thursday evening, greeted also with a warm embrace from India's Narendra Modi, there personally to welcome Russia's president, a rare gesture from the prime minister meant to underline the close ties between the two leaders. Amidst more ceremony, there was talk of the war in Ukraine, with Modi once again saying India is on the side of peace, and the leaders signed an economic cooperation agreement to expand trade until 2030.
Economic cooperation program पर
The visit is also steeped in symbolism. For Putin, it's about showing he's not so politically isolated. But this is a diplomatic tightrope for India, trying to balance a long-standing historical alliance with Russia, its biggest defense supplier that dates to the Soviet era, and the South Asian country's ties to a once friendly but increasingly volatile Trump administration. Washington imposed punishing tariffs on India in August, blaming it for buying sanctioned Russian crude oil financing the war in Ukraine. Putin saying today he can provide uninterrupted fuel supplies to India.
The U.S. is a much bigger market for India than
Dilip Sinha is a former Indian diplomat and commentator.
We have to ensure that we do nothing with Russia that will give Trump another excuse to put blame on India. So obviously that has to be at the back of our mind.
Still, he says the summit is also a sign that India has other options and won't necessarily buckle under U.S. pressure. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
The Pentagon says U.S. forces have carried out another deadly strike on alleged drug smugglers in the Pacific Ocean. This latest strike comes in the midst of congressional concern about the legality of those attacks. Willie Lowry is in our Washington bureau. Willie, what can you tell us about this latest strike?
So it happened in the Eastern Pacific. Video released by U.S. Southern Command shows a boat speeding through open waters and then suddenly disappearing beneath an inferno. The U.S. military says Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth ordered the strike and that it killed 4 alleged drug smugglers. It is the 22nd time that the U.S. has carried out such attacks since September. The vast majority of the strikes have occurred in the Caribbean. At least 87 people have been killed so far.
So, Willie, the controversy surrounding this ongoing deadly unilateral U.S. action is growing, isn't it?
Absolutely. The strike occurred on the same day that the commander who oversaw the very first strike on September 2nd appeared before lawmakers on Capitol Hill. There's growing bipartisan concern over the legality of these strikes. The House and Senate Armed Services Committee looked at video of the first, which showed 2 strikes, the first blowing up a boat and then a follow-up hit killing 2 people who had survived the initial explosion. Democratic Representative Adam Smith says the video did little to alleviate his concerns.
The idea that these two were going to be able to return to the fight, even if you accept all of the questionable legal premises around this mission, around these strikes, it's still very hard to imagine how these two were returning to any sort of fight in that condition.
The White House has defended the strikes and says it's protecting Americans by preventing drugs from entering the country by sea.
Willie Lowry in our Washington Bureau. Thanks, Willie.
My pleasure.
Canada's defense minister is assuring parliamentarians the federal government is on its way to meeting NATO's old spending target, 2% of GDP, by spring of next year. CBC's Murray Brewster has more.
Department of National Defense hasn't been good at is spending all the money they've been getting.
Conservative defense critic James Bazan expressing the skepticism many have felt about Canada reaching the target of spending 2% of GDP on defense.
Yeah, we're good.
Defense Minister David McGuinty didn't even bat an eye in giving that assurance.
So we're on this and watching it like a hawk, and you're right to raise it. And we're making sure that we're going to be delivering on time by March 31st.
Prime Minister Mark Carney set the goal of meeting the 2% target back in June. That was just as leaders of the NATO alliance raised the bar to 5%. Skepticism over the Defense Department's capacity is well earned. The department underspent by over $5 billion between 2020 and 2023. We've now been seeing signs, however, that money is being shoveled out the door, or is about to be. The U.S. Defense Cooperation Agency has just given Canada permission to buy $3.6 billion worth of bombs, including smart bombs, for the CF-18s and the next generation of fighters. Literally thousands of them. Building up stocks of munitions is one of the goals of the military. But the sale also underscores how dependent Canada is on the U.S. for weapons and ammunition, something the Carney government had promised to change. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
Some legal experts say Newfoundland and Labrador is facing what they describe as an access to justice crisis. Earlier this week, the government suspended many provincial court services, and they may not resume until February. Lisa Baudouin reports.
It's unusually quiet in the downtown provincial court building in St. John's, where the constant flow of small claims court has come to a screeching halt. Joe Thorne is with the Canadian Bar Association and says it's urgent the system gets back to normal.
Presents what I would describe as an access to justice crisis.
Justice Minister Helen Conway Ottenheimer announced a working group of lawyers to overhaul the courts, saying the problems like staffing shortages are systemic.
It's not going to be a long, drawn-out exercise by any means.
The opposition says things were working fine before and calls the shutdown abrupt. When pressed on the congested system, the Minister of Justice said there's nothing broken here that can't be fixed. The issue for plaintiffs and defendants is how long. Leila Baudouin, CBC News, St. John's.
And finally,
it is Make the Season Kind.
CBC's annual campaign, Make the Season Kind, is taking place across the country today. It is a time when statistics show the need this winter is so very real. Across Canada, families are struggling to put food on the table. 1 in 3 relying on food banks is a child. You can join the campaign by making a simple, powerful donation, with every dollar going directly to your local community food bank. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
A lot of things have gotten harder in a way because you can't buy what you think you need, and then you find yourself making a lot of sandwiches and freezing them and then just taking them out of the freezer and eating them, which doesn't necessarily add up to a good diet. As a person that, is limiting your budget and limiting your food intake, you do find yourself with diseases affecting that. Lack of calcium would mean lack of bone mass, and lack of bone mass means maybe osteoporosis. So we've had to fight that off at least once. Coming to harvest means they've got a kitchen, and if the cookie's in, I'm going to have a good meal that day. Hi, my name is Lindy Bright. You're listening to Make the Season Kind, a day in support of Harvest Manitoba on CBC Radio 1.
Once a year, we come together all across this country and all across Manitoba, too, as you heard, Make the Season Kind. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We're live in Winnipeg downtown in our studio. And we've got 2 studios going this morning for our special broadcast. We're in Studio 15 with the stories and the stats about hunger and need in our province. In Studio 41, the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir with beautiful live music to start our show today. We're going to hear from Vince Barletta from Harvest with some of the stats this year. 60,000 Manitobans accessing a food bank each and every month. And a lot of this has changed. This year they put out a 5-year report from Harvest, and some of what it shows will stop you. And we're going to share that in just a moment. Thanks for being with us. If you want to consider a donation, 982-3581 or cbc.ca/kindmb. Time right now is 6:11. Well, before we get into the music and the stories of this special day, we need to get to headlines. And for that, Matt Humphreys joined us from our news center. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. The province says it'll be giving holiday charities a boost this year, pulling out $1 million worth of U.S.-made alcohol. It shelved months ago. The American booze wasn't being sold as part of the ongoing trade war with the Trump administration. Now, the province plans to sell it ahead of Christmas and give the proceeds to charity. At the bottom of the hour, we'll hear from the head of the Holiday Cheer Board, who is elated to hear the news. And Winnipeg fans of Handel may want to check out a new show tonight at St. Mark's Lutheran Church. It's a new rendition of his classic work, Messiah, but this one is called Messiah Queered. It's part of a Steinbach community group's efforts representing local Christians in the 2S LGBTQ plus community. We'll hear more at the bottom of the hour.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Back soon.
Matt Humphrey from our news department. Abby Adeyemi is here looking very nice in your Make the Season Kind white toque, man.
Love it.
Love it. I have my sweatshirt, but I realized my hair goes over top of the symbol, so I have to kind of shuffle it over this morning.
Maybe do it to the other side, right?
I usually don't do that, but I could do that, yes. I can be nimble. Weather this Friday, what we got?
Yeah, we got snow on its way for most regions down south. We'll see periods of snow starting sometime this morning, and that should taper off as we get into the day. There's a risk of frostbite, especially as you head into the northern part of the province, where we're seeing temperatures around -20s and -23s at this time. But right here in Winnipeg, we're starting around -13, mainly clear outside, expecting periods of snow to move in this morning. That should last into the afternoon periods. We're going to see the winds coming from the northwest. That's just going to keep our temperature near -9 for most of the day before we drop down to about -15 later today. Wind chill values this morning for Winnipeg, we're going to see it feel like -28. A risk of frostbite in play, so take it easy out there. Up north, we're seeing temperatures around -13 in Flin Flon, and of course, we're going to see highs around -17 in most regions in the northern part of the province. But Winnipeg right now, we are sitting at -13, and it is clear outside.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Abby, of course, our senior tech, and will be on the air with us covering the weather through the morning. Corey Funk has about 10 jobs. He's directing, running back and forth, but right now we need you to do traffic.
Yes, very quiet right now out on the streets. Highways, haven't heard of any major issues yet, but if you're out there, you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, you want to give us a call, you can call me on the commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
You're listening to Make the Season Kind, a day of programming in support of Harvest Manitoba. You can help by calling 204-982-3581 or by visiting cbc.ca/kindmb.
Well, I mentioned that number, and that number has changed, by the way. 60,000 Manitobans accessing a food bank in our province every month. You want to look at that over 5 years, you're talking about the need and the number of people using the food bank up 150%. Since 2020. That data is in the latest Voices report, Stories of Hunger and Poverty in Manitoba for 2025. Vince Barletta will be with us throughout the morning, but we want to start the show with him. He's Harvest President and CEO. Thank you, Vince, for being here with us today.
Good morning, Marcy.
I have to say, I read the latest Harvest report. I'm just going to grab it here yesterday. And it was hard to see good news in this. I know it's a 5-year report, but it really does tell the story of, we talk so much about food prices and inflation, but that's not all that's going on. Tell me a little bit more about that number, 60,000, and who the food bank users in our province are.
Yeah, so just to give some background, Marcy, every year Harvest surveys hundreds of clients that visit food banks to understand what's happening in their life, understand some of the demographic trends as well that we're seeing across the province. So what we're seeing this year and the big change over the last 5 years, people that are going to food banks, the households are bigger. There's more kids in those households. The people are younger. And we're seeing that households visiting food banks on the whole are tending to have higher levels of education as well and more working people. So big changes across the board in Manitoba. And as you say, those numbers go up and up and up.
What does that tell you, some of that data? Like when you hear that more families, with families with more children are at the food bank, what might that tell you about their needs or needs that aren't being met?
Well, what it tells me is that, we had a social contract in this country where, if you did the right things, you started a household, you raised a family, you stayed in school, you got some higher education, that you were going to be able to get a good job and raise your family and be all right. And what we're seeing in Manitoba and across the country and really around the world in many places is that's no longer the case for a growing number of people. And we're seeing that here in Manitoba, young families struggling, single moms, single dads, but families with two individuals, two adults in the home, two caregivers and kids also struggling, along with groups that traditionally do, including people with disabilities, and of course, folks living on income assistance as well.
You talked about the social contract in this country, and you mentioned it used to be thought that, education could be a pathway out of poverty. That was highlighted as a change in this report as well.
Big change. And, from 2020 to this year, one of the most stark changes, a doubling of the number of people, the percentage of people visiting food banks who have at least attended some post-secondary education, whether they've completed a university or college degree or a diploma program, or they've attended some post-secondary. It's now over 60% of people that are going to a food bank in this year's survey that have at least attended some post-secondary education. That's double what it was just 5 years ago.
I've been here for a long time, and every year we ask about the child poverty rate, and across the country we're often the highest. Where are we at?
Yeah, we're still the highest. We're tied with Saskatchewan at the moment, for what that's worth, Marcy. But Manitoba, Saskatchewan, we tend to be jockeying for first place on that grim statistic. And of course, when you have more kids living in poverty, and children sadly tend to be overrepresented in poverty really everywhere you go, and in places like Manitoba, that's also the case, and that's a big part of what's driving family size up, the average size of the household going to a food bank in Manitoba. 5 years ago, around 2 persons per household. This year, just shy of 3 persons per household. And the big reason for that, more kids in those homes.
What's a myth you'd like to bust, Vince, about food insecurity in our province?
The big myth is that being food insecure can happen to anybody. And we're talking about families who are struggling to put food on the table, even after getting a job. More than 1/3 of folks visiting a food bank have a job. Getting an education, that's no cure for poverty. People that develop a disability over the course of their life, whether it's through work or otherwise, a disability causing them now to have a life sentence to poverty. Seniors whose pension savings aren't enough to meet their needs with inflation and rising prices. So the big message is needing to go to a food bank is something that can happen really to anybody, and we're seeing a growing number of those people all across Manitoba.
Later this morning, we'll also talk to Vince about some of the asks that you have of government. You looked in this report also at programs, at benefits, at disability, and in food and child benefits and how all that fits in. And we'll also talk a little bit more about some of the training programs through Harvest. Before we go to our first music this morning, though, in 41, they're warming up, I want to ask you about what you do at Harvest, because some people might be new to the work of Harvest Manitoba, and they might think, okay, Harvest is a food bank. Yes, you have a small food bank on Winnipeg, but really you have member agencies all over the province.
Well, that's right. Harvest Manitoba is the provincial food distribution agency for all of Manitoba. So we collect and distribute well over 1 million pounds of food each and every month. That goes to over 400 agencies here in Winnipeg, but also more than 50 communities outside of Winnipeg, Brandon, Thompson, Portage, everything in between, a growing number of communities in the far north as well, Northern First Nations communities as well, where we support food banking programs. But also school nutrition, our Meals to Go school nutrition program feeds 7,000 kids every weekend at schools around the province. We do employment training, education, and incredible research like Harvest Voices advocating for social change.
So if you consider making a donation today, we just mentioned all these things because it will go to support all of the work that you do. Thank you, Vince, for being here with us for the morning.
Thank you, Marcy.
We've got some great music lined up. Totals right now as we come in, because the lines actually opened overnight here for donations, are $9,075. We do have an anonymous donor that is matching up to $100,000 today for anything that you're able to give, should you make a donation to Harvest today. what our total is then, if you double that, is $18,150. And I know, Vince, I said you were done, but I'm going to get your mic back on, because every dollar that someone donates, what does that equate to?
So every dollar that we are able to raise, we can translate that into $10 worth of food. And that's because of the partnerships that we have with retailers, food processors, our ag sector, our buying power allows us to turn $1 into 10. So not only are you doubling your dollar with the matching funds today, but we're multiplying it by 10 with the impact we can have.
Let's now go to the other part of the program that's special. So we learned today about the need in our community, and we also make the season kind through music. I'm so grateful the musicians are with us today. We're going to speak to them in a moment, but why don't we go right to a song? So we're in Studio 15 on CBC. The Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir is in Studio 41 to get us into the, Studio 11 to get us into the spirit. And we will talk to them in a moment. I'm going to walk down there. But they're going to sing me over. So here live from Studio 11 is the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir, and hark the herald angels sing.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King, peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Christ by highest heaven adored, Christ the everlasting Lord. Late in time behold him come, offspring of the Virgin's womb. Veiled in flesh the Godhead see, hail incarnate deity. Pleased as man with man to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Hail the heavenly Prince of Peace, hail the Son of Righteousness. Light and life to all he brings, praise with healing in his wings. Mild he lays his glory by, born as man no more may die. Born to raise the sons of earth, born to give them second birth. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir live from Studio 41 with us. Just beautiful. We're making the season kind today in support of Harvest Manitoba. We do this every year. Lots of live music, stories about the need in our community as well. If you're listening and you have anything to give, the need is deep this year in our province where we live. These are our friends and our neighbors. These might be people that you're going to work with today, and then afterwards they're going to go to the food bank, and maybe you don't even know. That's one of the stats in the report this year. 204-982-3581. Everything's matched up to $100,000. You can also go to cbc.ca/kind-MB for more. Let's talk to John Murray. John is, come on forward here, John. Hi, everyone. Beautiful stuff. Thank you for starting our show. How long have you been part of Winnipeg Philharmonic? Tell us a bit more about the choir.
Compared to my colleagues behind me, I'm relatively new at just 5 years. Minus 2.5 years during the pandemic, where we were all summarily silenced.
Has anybody been here for 103 years? That's how long the choir's been around, though. Really, you guys focus on community, right?
Yes, we do. Each year, we have three different productions. They tend to be quite eclectic, the three, and we draw all of our musicians from local organizations. For example, the Winnipeg Symphony is a regular partner for one of the grander choral works. At Christmas time, we have our pair of concerts coming up on December the 14th. We feature children's choirs. And this year, we have a very, very unique experience by bringing some Caribbean flavor.
So I have heard this. So I'm going to pull Nicole Spasoff out. So wherever Nicole is, there you are. Nicola, I apologize, Nicola. So Nicola, tell us about this Steel Pan Orchestra this year.
Well, one of our altos, actually I'm an alto, so obviously we're very proud, Kayleen Blackwood. She came to us actually as a student as part of our Raising Voices program, which encourages young singers to join us for a small fee for their first year. That is a small fee from us to them. She came to us and she's been with us for a number of years now. She's a great musician. And she's also part of the High Life Steel Orchestra, a group of steel pans. It's actually quite a large group, but she and two of her siblings, her twin sister and her baby brother, who she introduced to us on Tuesday, he's not that baby, are going to be playing with us at our concerts on the 14th, which we're really excited by. Very different thing than we've done before.
I love that. I actually just came from a community event last week. There was Steel Pan, and I got educated in what it is and what it isn't and what makes it authentic. Like, there's so much cultural learning around it as well. Yeah. Okay, we need to hear more music. And so we're going to do that to get us to 6:30. You're listening to Make the Season Kind. Jeff, I'm going to take you over here with me with the camera, let the choir get reset up, and I'll reintroduce them. So just so everyone knows, you're listening on 89.3 FM to our special day of programming at CBC in support of Harvest Manitoba, and it's some 400 agencies all across this province that has meal programs and food banks, all ages of Manitobans that might need a little hand. And so let's hear now live. Our day is always part of stories, and music's a big part of our day. So live from Studio 41, once again, this is the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir with Joy to the World. Did I name the wrong song?
Yes.
It's live radio. What are you singing?
Oh, come all you faithful.
Take two. This is the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir with "O Come All Ye Faithful."
O come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord, God of God, light of light. Lo, he abhors not the virgin's womb. Verily God begotten, not created. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord. Sing, choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God in the highest. O come, let us adore him.
Philharmonic Choir is singing behind us live in Studio 41 this morning as we come together to make the season kind. Our total to this hour for Harvest Manitoba is $9,075 with matching $18,150. cbc.ca/mbkind if you have something to give. We'll have more live music and stories coming up on CBC. Right now, time for a news break at 6:30.
This is CBC News. At 6:30, we're at minus 13 degrees with partly cloudy skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good morning. I'm Matt Humphrey. The Christmas Cheer Board says it'll be having a much happier holidays this year with new cash from the province. The government says it'll be selling its stockpile of U.S. liquor. American alcohol was pulled off shelves earlier this year as retaliation for steep levies on Canadian goods entering the U.S. It's been sitting in warehouses ever since. But starting next week, some of that booze will be going back on sale, with the profits going to holiday charities in Winnipeg, Brandon, and Thompson. Shauna Bell is the executive director of the Cheer Board.
I'm absolutely stunned and speechless. I cannot believe what an early Christmas gift that is and just how incredible that's going to be, helping us get more food and toys into the hands of families and individuals here in Winnipeg.
Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries expects $500,000 could end up in charities' coffers. The American products will be on sale through Christmas Eve. Premier Wab Kinew says his government is encouraging more grocery stores to open. Right now, real estate clauses limit what can open near existing stores, limiting competition. MLAs passed a bill this spring to stop the practice, with the hope it'll drive down food prices. This week, Kinew says there were 66 Manitoba locations affected when the legislation came into force.
There was a deadline this Monday for grocery chains to register these property controls. Guess how many there are now? 46. Yeah. That means just by passing a law, we scared 20 grocery locations into having more competition in the market.
Kinew has asked the Public Service Delivery Minister to challenge those remaining owners to lift the condition. And speaking of food, according to Harvest Manitoba, 1/3 of food bank users are employed. And while inflation causes higher prices for everyone, it disproportionately affects people who earn less. Jesse Hager is an associate professor of economics and labor studies at the University of Manitoba.
They saw those increase in costs, but their income didn't increase enough to offset that. So over the last few years, they've been actually worse off with respect to the rising cost of living.
Hager says he'd like to see more targeted programs indexed to inflation rather than tax cuts Manitobans have seen in the past. Meanwhile, economic forecasts in Canada suggest food prices will continue to climb in the coming year. Nisha Patel has more.
We're expecting another difficult year due to beef prices.
Sylvain Charlebois is a professor at Dalhousie University in Halifax. He says a lot of cattle ranchers are leaving the industry, and that's impacting inventory.
And because people are pivoting towards chicken prices are also on the rise.
Climate change is having a significant impact too, especially on products like coffee and cocoa.
So we need to think about how to make our supply chain more resilient from farm gate to store.
A family of 4 is expected to spend $17,600 on food in 2026, almost $1,000 more than this year. As Sabra Al-Harthi shops for her groceries in Toronto, she says she'll have to make some adjustments.
The prices are up, the rent is up, but the paycheck is still the same.
When it comes to food, she says there's only so much you can cut back. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
And finally, Christians in the 2S LGBTQ+ community hope to use faith and music to bring people together in Winnipeg and Steinbach. Messiah Queered is a new take on Handel's 18th century work Messiah. It musically tells the biblical story of Jesus Christ. Geneva Halverson is a soloist in the show. They say helping share a Christian story is important to them, especially close to the holidays.
For me, that Christianity is for everyone. That it's not just for people that follow a certain set of rules, but it's for anyone that believes in God and Jesus, and that's to me what's so special about it.
The orchestra and singers debut their performance tonight at St. Mark's Lutheran Church in Winnipeg, with a second show at Grace Mennonite Church in Steinbach on Sunday. The show also has the support of the Steinbach United Church. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
All right. Thanks very much, Matt.
Back soon.
6:35 a.m. This morning we come together to make the season kind. Our day at CBC in support of Harvest Manitoba and its some 400 member agencies. Vince Barletta, CEO, and we're going to talk to him more in just a moment. We better get you plugged in, though, to your weather with the regional forecast for our Friday. Here's Abby Adeyemi.
Yeah, crispy one. We're going to see snow starting in most of the regions down south very soon. Minus 13 in Winnipeg right now. It's mainly clear outside. Those clouds will roll in, and then we'll see periods of snow. That should end sometime this afternoon, leaving behind gusts in northwest winds, and our highs would push to about -9 later today before some clear skies overnight. In the Pembina Valley region, we're seeing more than Winkler out in the Morris down to the U.S. border, sitting at -10. Partly cloudy skies, also expecting light snow to pass through that region before clearing up, and then we'll see highs around -9 also. In the Westman region, Brandon sitting at -9 at this time. Light snow falling. That should taper off this afternoon, leaving behind winds. And of course, you're just going to stay around -9 for most of the day. For Dauphin, -10 at this time. Light snow falling there also. That should clear to a mix of sun and clouds later. You get to -11 by the afternoon into the rush hour period as you head home. For Gimli, -19 at this time, warming to -9, expecting snow in that part of the province. You should see the snow end in the afternoon, and you'll see your temperatures warm to -9. For the powerful influence surrounding communities, we're looking at light snow and gusty winds greeting your morning. We see temperatures sitting around -13 at this time. Conditions should cool to about -17 later this afternoon. The wind chill this morning actually feels like -28. For Thompson, -18 and light snow easing off. Then we'll see more snow hang back. Some wind chills would hover around you all the day. We're going to see temperatures feel like -29. While for Churchill, -19. Ice crystals being spotted in that part of the province, leading to a windy day. And of course, some blowing snow will come with that. The wind chill feels like -35 this morning. So, Mercy, fresh snow on its way again for most parts of the south. We're seeing in Dauphin, out in Brandon, and Dauphin at this time. But Winnipeg, snow on its way, -13 right now.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Let's get into what's happening with the drive. Any problems because of the snow, Corey?
No major issues yet that I've heard of, though. If you are driving, say, Highway 6 in the Interlake there up north, and or taking Highway 60 kind of to the paw there, might be some poor driving conditions for you, poor visibility with some covered highway conditions according to Manitoba 501. So heads up if you're hitting the highway up north through the Interlake this morning. If you do see something though going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line if you're walking, biking, driving. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Thank you, Corey. Well, it is 6:37 a.m. on Friday morning. You're on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Today, we make the season kind for Harvest Manitoba. Vince Barletta from Harvest in studio with us. Hi, Vince. Vince and I have been talking about the stats this morning already in their latest report. 60,000 Manitobans needing food banks. They're using food banks every month now. 150% increase since 2020. I want to share something with you, Vince, because, you know, we asked about hunger on our Facebook page, one of our social pages. And a listener wrote in and said to me, you know, please share this because she is aware of stigma, she said, in her life. And she wrote in and said she's retired and they had to remortgage their house to try to help the kids. She said they skipped prescriptions. They now cut internet, landline, or cell phone at home. She wrote it's tough, but it helps immensely. She said, even though we're still poor, I buy wool every month to knit toques and mitts for charities. And then she goes on to talk about wanting to break the stigma. She says that when she was growing up, she also lived in some poverty, and she's always known that needing some help is nothing at all to have any feelings of shame about. And yet she still gives. How often do you hear that, the generosity of Manitobans, no matter what position they might be in?
All the time. And, you know, you've been to our warehouse many times, Marcy, and you know when you come in the doors, so many of the people that are volunteering, doing the work, answering the phones, packing the bags, either are people that use a food bank today, or there was a time in their life when they needed it for their family and Harvest was there. We see it all the time in communities across Manitoba. It's a huge part of what lets Harvest do our work every day.
$1 equals 10. So if you have anything to give today, the number to call is 982-3581. Let's get some very different numbers. It's time for business news. So we turn our attention to some of the news of the day here in the program as well. Katie Toth is with us, in for Christelle Ramlicam with our report. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you actually are keeping an eye out for November jobs numbers later today. What do you think we're going to see?
Well, RBC economists are betting on flat employment growth after we saw better than expected numbers in October and September. Slower immigration could also mean fewer job seekers on the market, and that could keep unemployment rates around 6.9%. So still higher than what would be considered normal. And new job seekers are looking for longer, but we're not seeing the job losses from tariff-hit sectors like manufacturing spread to the rest of the economy like we thought we would. CIBC a little less sunny, pointing to surveys where business owners say they're pausing hiring, but overall, I think we can expect modest job growth.
What is it going to mean for interest rates then?
A lot. We're still dealing with this backlog of the data drought from the U.S. government shutdown, so we're not getting other economic indicators before December 10th. That means this will be the last piece of the data puzzle the Bank of Canada gets before it makes its decision on Wednesday. Economists think interest rates will stay the same next week unless we see some really huge surprises today. The Bank of Canada said last time they want to see how their most recent cut plays out. I just got bangs recently. You never want to overtrim. It's true.
You're not visually on our VMix feed today. Now I'm wishing kind of you were. To another story this morning, there's a new scientific paper. It's warning too many satellites could impact important images from scientific telescopes. So what's the business story of here?
Yeah, so this warning was in the journal Nature, and it comes as tech companies are trying to send hundreds of thousands of satellites into space over the next 10 years. So in 2019, there were about 2,000 satellites in orbit. Today, there are more like 15,000. And most of these belong to SpaceX's Starlink. But now we have Amazon, Google, and companies in Europe and China all racing to put their own constellations of satellite into these low Earth orbits. Launching them has become a lot less expensive thanks to new tech. And satellite information is important from everything from crop data to the defense industry to providing places with internet that may not have them. But these satellites are already photobombing astronomers' pictures of the night sky, and we haven't even reached that peak number yet. So scientists are asking the industry to invest in solutions like making the satellites less reflective or putting them in even lower Earth orbit so they don't interfere.
So interesting. This time we're living in, hey? Finally, FIFA Men's World Cup draw happens later today in Washington. We've been teeing it up in sports. It's 1 degree and snowy there, but you have a story about climate impacts on the competition.
Yeah, the draw today decides who faces off against who this summer. And one report found 10 of the 16 host cities are at very high risk of experiencing extreme heat stress conditions. One expert told BBC the biggest cost of a heat-related weather event could be if venues had to cancel matches, paying back tickets while also paying workers for their time. So double ding there. But a smaller version of that could be just delays. There was a FIFA World Cup game last summer in Orlando that was delayed by almost 2 hours because of a storm. And if those delays start to impact contracts with broadcasters or vendors, there could be a liability. Canada not immune to this. We saw how wildfires impacted air quality in host city Vancouver just this past summer.
All right. Thanks very much, Katie.
Thank you.
Katie Toth with us, filling in for Crystalie Ramlakan this morning. You're listening to Make the Season Kind, a day of programming here at CBC in support of Harvest Manitoba. And you can help by calling 982-3581 with any donation amount or by visiting cbc.ca/kindmb. $1 equals 10. We have an anonymous donor who's going to match. Should we reach up to, they'll match up to $100,000 should we get there. This morning, our total collected already. Thank you, everyone. It's so early. And we have $12,765 already donated for Harvest Manitoba and member agencies. And with the matching, then that's over $25,000. Well, next, Harvest wouldn't be able to do what it does without the work of a lot of volunteers, many of whom also use the food bank. Vince and I were just talking about that here. CBC's Corey Funk spoke with a few of those volunteers, like Lindy Bright. She volunteers at Harvest's bi-weekly food bank at its Winnipeg Avenue headquarters. And when Corey walked up, she was busy pouring these huge sacks of potatoes out into crates for people to take.
Somebody's doing a very good job of sealing them, where you can't get into them as easy as you want. And then you look at the potatoes and you go, wow, because they look great.
Getting a good workout.
Yeah, the older I get, the harder it gets. I like it, and there's a limit to what I can do. So I work on 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay.
And I find that sufficient.
So you volunteer twice a week, but I also understand you're a Harvest user as well. So you've been volunteering for 20 years. How long have you been using Harvest for?
Probably as long as that. I started even in university because having something for the weekend to cook and make a large slow cooker pot of something means a meal for the week. So that would be the lifestyle. And things are very, call it predictable, because you go at the soup level and you go, I don't want to see another can of tomato soup, right? Or beans. But sometimes that's all you've got.
The Harvest for a long time. What have you noticed in terms of the struggles for you personally in terms of putting food on the table? Has it gotten harder, easier, the same? What's changed over the past 20 years for you?
A lot of things have gotten harder in a way because you can't buy what you think you need. And then you find yourself making a lot of sandwiches and freezing them and then just taking them out of the freezer and eating them, which doesn't necessarily add up to a good diet. Coming to Harvest means they've got a kitchen, and if the cookie's in, I'm going to have a good meal that day. And that's important.
We were talking a little bit earlier, but before I turned on the microphone, you said that for you, you're retired, and you said a pension is actually harder than welfare. What do you mean by that for you?
Well, welfare covers some things the pension doesn't. Welfare covers your medication, your eyeglasses, sometimes shoes. But the pension is harder because it's well below the poverty level. I'm on CPP and the old age security. So it does add up to, say, $1,700, and you can have that spent almost in 2 days from the time you get it. You live on your credit cards, and you pay them off regularly. But I don't use cash as much, so I use the credit card, and you can't do everything with that.
And that's $1,700 a month or every 2 weeks?
That would be a month.
Hi, I'm Tracy Prout.
And how long have you been volunteering at Harvest for?
I've been at Harvest almost a year, coming up soon.
Why did you start?
Well, I semi-retired about 1.5 years ago, and I decided I wanted to give back more to the community. I volunteer with a couple other organizations, and I thought, well, maybe this would be good. It kind of connects to them. And the fact that there's a physicality to the job, I really like it. And just giving back. I like that what I do here will make a difference, even in a small way.
So what do you do here mostly? You work in the warehouse?
Yeah, so basically I carry all the crates into the back, and so they're all sorted there, and then I carry them. So I do a lot of carrying, sorting, organizing things. I also work at the other warehouse doing the meals to go. So that's a weekend program for school kids. So I go there and I help all the groups that come in there.
What have what do you love about doing this, besides the physicality of it, obviously?
You know what, the staff are unbelievable. They're all so friendly. They're so welcoming. All the volunteers are really nice. We've got a really good group of people. What I like is that Harvest gives people an opportunity to volunteer that might be on EIA or different things, disabilities. I mean, basically everybody's welcome. So it's just like getting to learn everybody's life, and we've all gotten to know each other, and we all welcome each other every time we come together, and it's just a very community-oriented place.
Did anything surprise you since you started volunteering here?
Yeah, just the sheer numbers of people that need to utilize the services. Huge. I had no idea. You know, I sort of knew that we were helping the community, but the sheer volume surprises me. And all the organizations that come through here to help run their organizations. So, yeah, it's huge what this organization does. We'd be in a lot of trouble without them for sure.
Harvest volunteer Tracy Prout. You also heard earlier from fellow volunteer Lindy Bright, and you heard Tracy talk about the Meals to Go program there, right? So we're going to tell you more about that. We'll take you to one of those programs after 7 o'clock. If you have it to give, donate to Harvest Manitoba at 982-3581. Our entire day of programming at CBC today is in support of Harvest Manitoba and its 400 agencies. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We have a beautiful card that got dropped off at CBC yesterday, and I'm going to open that with Vince Barletta from Harvest a little bit later this half hour. So stay tuned for that, and we'll update our totals to this hour. We also have live music. If you've been up early already, then you heard some beautiful selections here from Studio 41 Live. Pardon me, I keep saying that. Studio 11 Live. The Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir is here. Well, members of the choir, at least, have gathered. They have a concert coming up December 14th. I just want to plug that. But they're giving us their voices today, which is fantastic. We've been talking with Nicola Spasoff, who is with us here talking about the choir. This is some members, but how many in total sing in the choir, Nicola?
Well, it differs off and on, but we have about 54 right now.
Yeah, and you're always looking for people, right?
Absolutely, we are always looking for people. We'll be auditioning after Christmas for the second term.
And what kind of, vocal experience might people have to have if they're thinking that they might make the cut and they're listening this morning? Like, do they need to like to sing or be really formally trained?
They do not have to be really formally trained, but they do need to have experience as a choral singer. So I would say everyone in the choir has sung either as a young person or as an adult. They need to be able to sight sing somewhat, to sight read. And they need to be able to, they need to have a nice voice. They need to be musical.
There is a cut. There is an audition, people.
We do have standards.
Why do you sing? What do you feel like when you sing, particularly at this time of year?
I love singing. The act of singing is a wonderful thing. It is full of joy. And there is something, I was just thinking about it at rehearsal 2 weeks ago. It just struck me. I thought, here we are, many of us are sleepy. Maybe it's cold out. Many of us have worked all day. There's nothing in it for us. Nobody is definitely paying us. We are just here because we love to do this. And there is an amazing feeling when you just realize that everybody is taking a breath at the same moment and everybody is working together for this common thing, which is making a beautiful thing. It's really lovely.
Well, Manitoba is taking a breath at the same moment this morning as we use the music and the stories to make the season kind. Live from Studio 11, these are members of the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir with Joy to the World.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. She rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
Joy to the World live at CBC Studio 11 from the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir. So your next show is, Nicola, on December 14th. Give a little plug and tell people where they can learn more about the choir.
Well, that's right. It's on December 14th, and we actually do two shows, one at 3 o'clock and one at 7 o'clock. On that Sunday, we'll be at the Crescent Arts Centre, Crescent Port Rouge United Church at 525 Wardlaw. There are tickets on our website at thephil.ca, and at least the 7 o'clock concert will have tickets at the door. The 3 o'clock concert often sells out, so I can't promise that.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Tap on the choir books. Make some noise for the radio. Thank you all. I appreciate you. As I said off air, we're all one community and we give what we can. And this morning we really needed your voices. And it's early. So I get what that means for a choral group especially. We're grateful. Thank you, and the community is grateful. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening live to CBC's Make the Season Kind. Let's bring Vince Barletta back in here. Come on in, Vince. Vince is the CEO and president of Harvest Manitoba. I want to give you this because this came yesterday. So when we were... Hang on, I'm going to hold my mic. I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to get you to open this. This is an envelope that was dropped off at CBC yesterday, and the outside of the envelope, you can have a look, and then you can read what's in there. It says,
Marcy, Harvest Manitoba, to help kickstart your day for Harvest campaign.
So this is the very first donation that came in by person. The person left very quickly. They didn't want any attention. They just wanted to start.
Beautiful, beautiful check here for Harvest Manitoba to support Make the Season Kind. And I'm not sure if I should say the amount, but it's a $500 check here today, which is going to turn into $1,000 because we're matching those funds. And it's going to turn into 10 times that amount in terms of food that we can provide to Manitobans. A big thank you. A big thank you.
Big thank you. So I appreciate it. As I said, I never met the person that dropped that off. They left a lovely little note for us here to help make the season kind. Now, any amount and every amount it will go a long way for Harvest. What stat stood out for you, Vince? There's so many stats in this report, but which one stood out for you in terms of the change in need in our community?
Well, it's always the kids. And, we don't like to think about children living in poverty, but the reality is so many do, and Manitoba continues to have those highest rates of child poverty in the country. So growing sizes of households, more kids, younger families, those are all standout issues, and we hate to see kids go hungry anywhere, and certainly not in a great province like Manitoba.
We have a minute before we're turning to news, but I just wanted to ask you about job training because we just got the jobs numbers. We're expecting them later this morning. We just heard what we're anticipating on our business report on CBC, and I saw you listening closely. One of the things that you're really working hard to continue doing at Harvest is training for the trades. Why is that?
Well, employment is a pathway to economic and food security for so many people. And so every year we graduate around 100 people through our warehouse training program, 6 weeks on the floor, and then they're out able to get jobs in the private sector in warehousing, distribution. And, we find that even a year or two after, 80% plus are employed right here in Manitoba after completing that training. So it's good for the economy. It's good for those folks, lifting them out of the need for food banks and into employment. So that's always been a big piece of the puzzle for Harvest. But of course, as the report shows as well, employment itself is no immunity to needing a food bank. And 1/3 of people going to a food bank today have a job.
In the next hour, Vince and I are going to talk about some of the benefits, including some of the benefits that actually you might be surprised are not available to people in Manitoba. For example, if you are collecting perhaps EIA or a disability credit, sometimes that will mean that you can't collect some of the child tax credits, even if you might still need them. That's a problem, Carvis says. You can see Vince nodding. We'll get him to tell us more about that coming up. I'll tell you more about what's in the next hour of our special show on CBC as we make the season kind, right after news headlines at 3 minutes to 7 o'clock with Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. In case you missed it, the fall sitting of the Manitoba legislature has ended. Politicians are not set to return until March. The sitting began in mid-November. 3 bills were introduced. The NDP government says 19 more are coming in March, including a ban on machetes in public places. And the fall sitting had plenty of name-calling, with the New Democrats calling the Tories misogynists, tofu eaters, and latte sippers, and the Tories calling Premier Wab Kinew a liar and a criminal. We'll hear more at the bottom of the hour.
Thanks, Matt. Matt Humphrey filling in for Heather Wells this morning. Well, still ahead as we make the season kind here live on CBC. Juno award-winning singer Jocelyn Gould is going to perform some live jazz right here in our studio for Make the Season Kind. Looking forward to that. Also, we're going to visit a tiny food bank that might just bust a stigma out there, or a myth rather out there. It provides crucial support in Winnipeg's Tuxedo neighborhood. So stay tuned. We're going to take you there. Plus, we have a story from CBC's Chloe Friesen. We're going to meet one of the many Manitobans who has a job. She still needs to use the food bank, but she believes that busting that stigma and those myths is so important to normalize so people get the help they need. She's taken to social media and she's got a campaign where she does unboxing of food hampers. So stay tuned. Chloe's going to bring us her story in the next hour. If you have something to give, please consider calling 9823581. I always try to think about what I spend money on, that coffee or whatever I'm buying, a muffin. Every dollar will be matched up to $100,000 today. You can also go to cbc.ca/kindmb. It is now 1 minute to 7 o'clock on your snowy Friday morning. Weather-wise today, it's going to be cold again, but a little bit more snow. And if you have a problem in traffic, please give us a call, 788-3093. To this hour, everything's looking pretty good. You might want to check the highways at 511 before you head out. World Report's coming up next, right here live on CBC.
today on The Current.
It prevents the transmission of HIV. So that was a significant biomedical advancement.
A new drug is offering huge promise in fighting AIDS, reducing the risk of HIV transmission by 99.9%. The manufacturer is also licensing low-cost versions of the drug. How to get it to the people who need it most on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Later today in Washington, the leaders of Canada, the United States, and Mexico will all be in the same room. And while it might be hard to avoid the subject of trade, it's not the purpose of their gathering. Today is the draw that will determine the opening round of this summer's FIFA World Cup. And all three countries are jointly hosting. Jamie Strachan has more.
Early ball inside. Promise David!
After years of preparation and anticipation, a clear picture of Canada's World Cup journey is about to emerge. Today's draw, a key indicator of a team's potential fortunes, says soccer writer John Molinaro.
The luck of the draw is just, hugely important in terms of setting teams up for success or failure at the World Cup.
Countries have been divided into 4 so-called pots, with the hosts and top-ranked teams in pot 1. The remaining pots are based on world rankings. For Canada, a bad scenario could see them in a group with tough opponents like Croatia, Norway, and, if they qualify, Italy. A much easier road for Canada would see games against lower-ranked nations, Austria, South Africa, and New Zealand.
The wonderful thing about the World Cup is you kind of get pulled into a group against teams that, you don't normally play, and against nations from continents that you don't normally play.
This will be Canada's 3rd World Cup appearance. In 2022, it lost all 3 games. Bob Lenarduzzi played on Canada's first World Cup side in 1986 and says no matter who Canada draws, home field will be a huge advantage.
Anytime you pull the red jersey on as a player, you feel, I'm getting goosebumps now as I'm saying, you feel a sense of pride. The fact that you're playing in a World Cup in your backyard, well, that pride is just going to go through the roof.
Canada will play its first game against an opponent to be determined later today in mid-June at Toronto's BMO Field. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Trade, defense, and strategic ties are all being discussed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit to India. But underlying much of the conversation is the Kremlin's war on Ukraine. Salima Shivji has more from Mumbai.
A classical Indian dance on the tarmac as Vladimir Putin landed in New Delhi Thursday evening, greeted also with a warm embrace from India's Narendra Modi, there personally to welcome Russia's president, a rare gesture from the prime minister meant to underline the close ties between the two leaders. Amidst more ceremony, there was talk of the war in Ukraine, with Modi once again saying India is on the side of peace, and the leaders signed an economic cooperation agreement to expand trade until 2030.
Economic cooperation program पर
The visit is also steeped in symbolism. For Putin, it's about showing he's not so politically isolated. But this is a diplomatic tightrope for India, trying to balance a long-standing historical alliance with Russia, its biggest defense supplier that dates to the Soviet era, and the South Asian country's ties to a once friendly but increasingly volatile Trump administration. Washington imposed punishing tariffs on India in August, blaming it for buying sanctioned Russian crude oil financing the war in Ukraine. Putin saying today he can provide uninterrupted fuel supplies to India.
The U.S. is a much bigger market for India than
Dilip Sinha is a former Indian diplomat and commentator.
We have to ensure that we do nothing with Russia that will give Trump another excuse to put blame on India. So obviously that has to be at the back of our mind.
Still, he says the summit is also a sign that India has other options and won't necessarily buckle under U.S. pressure. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
The U.S. military resumes its controversial campaign against alleged drug boats, conducting its 22nd strike. 4 people were killed in the eastern Pacific, bringing the total death toll of the campaign to at least 87 people. The new strike occurred as lawmakers investigate the very first strike for allegations that the military killed survivors, and that is a potential war crime. Canada's defence minister is assuring parliamentarians the federal government is on its way to meeting NATO's old spending target, 2% of GDP, by spring of next year. As the CBC's Murray Brewster tells us, there are questions about whether the military can spend all that money.
Department of National Defense hasn't been good at is spending all the money they've been getting.
Conservative defense critic James Bazan expressing the skepticism many have felt about Canada reaching the target of spending 2% of GDP on defense.
Yeah, we're good.
Defense Minister David McGuinty didn't even bat an eye in giving that assurance.
So we're on this and watching it like a hawk, and you're right to raise it. And we're making sure that we're going to be delivering on time by March 31st.
Prime Minister Mark Carney set the goal of meeting the 2% target back in June. That was just as leaders of the NATO alliance raised the bar to 5%. Skepticism over the Defense Department's capacity is well earned. The department underspent by over $5 billion between 2020 and 2023. We've now been seeing signs, however, that money is being shoveled out the door, or is about to be. The U.S. Defense Cooperation Agency has just given Canada permission to buy $3.6 billion worth of bombs, including smart bombs, for the CF-18s and the next generation of fighters. Literally thousands of them. Building up stocks of munitions is one of the goals of the military. But the sale also underscores how dependent Canada is on the U.S. for weapons and ammunition, something the Carney government had promised to change. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
Some legal experts say Newfoundland and Labrador is facing what they describe as an access to justice crisis. Earlier this week, the government suspended many provincial court services, and they may not resume until February. The province blames systemic issues and is forming a working group to find solutions. Leila Baudouin reports.
It's unusually quiet in the downtown provincial court building in St. John's, where the constant flow of small claims court has come to a screeching halt. Intimate partner violence court in rural Newfoundland will be moving to bi-weekly. Mental health matters on hold. Joe Thorne is with the Canadian Bar Association and says it's urgent the system gets back to normal.
Presents what I would describe as an access to justice crisis.
Justice Minister Helen Conway Ottenheimer announced a working group of lawyers to overhaul the courts, saying the problems like staffing shortages are systemic.
This is not going to be a long, drawn-out, protracted exercise by any means.
The opposition says things were working fine before and calls the shutdown abrupt. Liberal voice Pam Parsons calls the solution to the suspension too slow.
What is the plan? What's the interim plan?
When pressed on the congested system, the Minister of Justice said there's nothing broken here that can't be fixed. The issue for plaintiffs and defendants is how long. Leila Baudouin, CBC News, St. John's.
Returning to our top story, the FIFA World Cup, but this time the view from Mexico City. The owners of a soccer stadium there have control over a key water well, while the neighboring community is experiencing water shortages. As Jorge Barrera tells us, there's growing protest in the community.
The people need to rise, chants a crowd during a press conference led by Ruben Ramirez, who represents the indigenous people of Santa Úrsula, Coapa. The struggle is over water, he tells CBC News. His people are protesting the World Cup over water shortages plaguing their community, which sits next to Mexico City's legendary Azteca Stadium, host to World Cups 1986 and 1970.
It was a fitting end to Pele's World Cup career.
The first game of World Cup 2026 will be played here.
We are next to the Azteca Stadium, and behind this wall is the well.
Natalia Lara is an activist fighting for community water rights. She says the Mexican government gave rights to drill this well 6 years ago to Televisa Group, the country's largest media corporation, which owns local broadcast rights to World Cup games.
We don't have water, and Televisa always has water for the grass, and we don't have water for washing or for cooking.
Mexico City's mayor, Clara Brugada, said recently that the well is now in the city's hands, but the stadium's owners told CBC News they hold the water rights until 2027. We've had 2 World Cups and the people have not benefited, says Ramirez. He says protests will continue until the water goes back to his people, on whose land the stadium was built. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Mexico City.
And finally, The Italian Air Force aerobatic team flies over the presidential palace in Rome. It's where the Olympic flame for the Milano Cortina 2026 was lit today, signaling the countdown to the Winter Games is official. The flame now beginning its 12,000-kilometer journey, carried by 10,001 torchbearers uniting the country on its way to the opening ceremonies. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
So for people like me, we're really fortunate that there are programs like this, like Harvest Manitoba. When I got unemployed, also because of my depression and anxiety that's limiting me to go to work. Also, I have a son who's autistic, nonverbal. So when I stopped working, I just chose to focus on him 24/7. Harvest Manitoba really help people to really make ends meet. I'm Malvin. You're listening to Make the Season Kind, day in support of Harvest Manitoba on CBC Radio 1.
I'm Marcy Marcusa, live in our Studio 15 this morning. We come together with the stories, like Alvin, and the music as well, live in Studio 11. This hour on the show, our live performer is Winnipeg jazz guitarist and singer and Juno Award winner Jocelyn Gould. So really looking forward to hearing that. Plus,
I cried through the whole process because I felt like a failure, but it's not. Everybody needs it. It doesn't matter what your income is, what your situation is. They'll give you food.
We're going to find out about a small food bank in Winnipeg making a big difference in people's lives. We'll also talk more about stigma as we continue to try to break it so people can just get the help they need. We'll meet one of the many Manitobans with a job who still uses a food bank. Those numbers and website for giving are 9823581. Also, cbc.ca/kind Manitoba. Vince Barlett is in with me from Harvest. He's been looking. He says a challenge has been issued. Someone's donated $1,000, I believe, and made a challenge. Noreen, I believe, is the name. So thank you, Noreen. Also, people are making donations, and we always remind you any amount really will make a huge difference. Harvest can make $1 turn into $10 because of their buying power at the food bank. And remember, they service over 400 agencies all across Manitoba. We'll update that total in a moment. Right now, let's get to news headlines with Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. There it is. This morning, we're hearing from a business owner and a mother who says despite running her own business, she still uses Harvest Manitoba's services on a month-to-month basis, a widespread problem, which Marcy just touched on. This holiday season, she decided to give back to the organization by using her business. We'll hear how at the bottom of the hour. Bit of a tease there. And we'll hear more about dead geese in Niverville. Dozens of bodies are scattered across a Niverville retention pond, the result of an avian flu outbreak. At the bottom of the hour, we'll hear from a biologist who says often flu outbreaks happen in the winter, but it's unusual to see this many dead birds at once. More at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Back soon.
Matt Humphrey, in from our news department. Well, it's time to get into the weather forecast. Abby has a toque on, and if you're outside, you're going to want to wear yours too.
That's correct, especially for those already seeing the snow around the Dauphin and the Brandon area this morning. That's coming our way. Expect a snowy start. It's going to turn windy across the south and even into the north. That should taper off as you get into the afternoon. So fresh snow coming your way, and that should clear out, leaving behind some windy conditions into the weekend. Winnipeg, right now, we are at minus 13. The clouds will get thick as we get into the day, and then we'll see periods of snow that would end this afternoon. Winnipeg, your high for today will only get to minus 9, and then some clear skies tonight. Remember, light snow falling across the southern parts of the province, and up north, we're seeing temperatures between minus 17 and minus 28 this morning, with a wind chill around minus 35. Winnipeg, minus 13.
Thank you, Abby. Let's get into what's happening with the traffic situation. Corey Funk's popped in. Is there anything we have to update, Corey?
No, it's actually been a very quiet commute so far. But if you're out there, you see something, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line, 204-788-3093.
Help make the season kind for those in need. You can help by visiting cbc.ca/kindmb or by calling 204-982-3581. You're listening to Make the Season Kind on CBC, a day of programming in support of Harvest Manitoba.
Vince Barletta, CEO and president of Harvest, in studio. What's our total now for collection this morning, Vince?
So far this morning, we've raised $17,974 with the matching funds. $35,948. Thank you, Manitoba.
Yeah, thank you. So we have a long way to go in terms of our programming day. And just a reminder, as you just heard, cbc.ca/kindmb or 982-3581. Also, I always find when people do make a donation on This Morning, it can be quite moving if you have a story to share about what's motivated you to give, and it could be anything. So if you have something that you would like to say, they'll pass that along to us, the Harvest volunteers, to us at CBC here, and we'll get some of your stories this morning on the air as well. Well, next on the show, let's talk about kids, students, young people. It is a way to give students a little extra nourishment throughout the weekend. I'm talking about the Meals to Go program. It's operated by Harvest Manitoba. Students now at 15 schools receive a weekly bag of snacks to take home. The program is in its 8th year. It serves thousands of students throughout Winnipeg, Brandon, and northern Manitoba. It all began at Mulvey School in Winnipeg. CBC Manitoba's community reporter Shanley Vidal was there last Friday for the delivery.
Happy Meals to Go!
So my name is Grace Hodge. I'm the program coordinator at Harvest Manitoba. So I coordinate for the Meals to Go program. Meals to Go is a weekend breakfast program that we have here in Manitoba in schools to try and fill the gap over the weekend when kids don't have access to their in-school meal program. So during the week, kids can come to school and have breakfast, which is fantastic, but over the weekend there is that gap. So we pack these bags on a weekly basis and we deliver them to the schools on Fridays, and every student in the school will get to take one home. So we have a variety of different snack items for the kids. We try and make it nutritious, but also items that they're going to actually enjoy and eat. So we have dairy, so yogurt and cheese and chocolate milk, some fruits and veggies, apples and grapes and carrots, and then some dry goods as well. We have a muffin and some cereal and a granola bar and some crackers going in there as well. All the schools are very engaged, very happy to be a part of the program. It's a student-led program, so the students help us unload the kits at the site. They deliver a bag to each student within their school on Fridays. We also have kids coming to help pack the kits as well, so they get to be involved in that process. We have them make some of the affirmation notes that we include in the kits as well. So we include one positive affirmation note into each bag to hopefully brighten the student's day when they open it.
I'm Peter Correa, and I'm the principal of Mulvey School. It's important when they get involved right from a young age to know that it's important to give back to your community. So they know that with their efforts, they're actually helping maybe a younger student to get fed for the weekend, right? So, and they love it. They love doing it, giving back. They love being students. Really like to be helpers. And giving back that way, they're excited about it. You can see it today, right? They were so excited, and when I called them down from their classes, they were like, "Yay, we're coming down," and you can see behind me, they're already excited and eating their snacks and happy to be part of this program.
We have some very excited students here who are now very busy eating some of those snacks. What's that like for you to see that?
It's so wonderful to see. In fact, when we get them out Friday afternoon, they start to eat it on the way home, which is okay. And then so it's exciting to see extra nutrition, what they need, provided to them on a weekly basis from Harvest Manitoba and all the donors and all the donation and stuff. And part of the program also that is so exciting to see is they get little affirmation notes inside, written by not only adults but by their peers, like older students, sometimes their community service hours and things, that they actually write notes to be positive about students, just putting out positive karma, and students can read, "Wow, you're terrific, wow, you're wonderful, you make a difference," those kind of positive affirmations that make a difference in a young student's life.
What kind of difference can that make in a young person's day-to-day life and their schoolwork?
It makes a big difference. And we notice that when students are better fed and with nutrition, they're more easily focused, they're easy to concentrate on their school studies. So it has an impact in their lives in the academics. And then to see those affirmation notes, it just makes them feel like better young people. So it feeds the belly or the tummy and also the soul. So it's a beautiful program to have and be a part of. As young children and growing up, it's kind of incumbent upon all of us to take care of each other. And it's important that nutrition helps as the body's growing to feed it properly, and so the brain can develop, so the bodies can develop, so then we can have really productive citizens. So we're all kind of helping each other in the long run.
That's CBC Manitoba's community reporter Shanley Vidal out at Mulvey School in Winnipeg, where Meals to Go began some 8 years ago. Thanks to videographers Jason Empson and Travis Golby as well for their work on that item. Vince Barletta from Harvest is in studio. You know, I was there the first year they started, talking to Peter Correa, the principal there. He was so dedicated that when I asked him how much a difference it makes, Vince, for kids to have full stomachs, like, does it actually mean they're in class more? He had a spreadsheet. He was looking at who was, getting nourishment and then who was able then to stay through the day to kind of prove his point of how important this was.
Well, that's it. Peter and the gang at Mulvey, they were the first school, and now we're 15 schools last year. We're adding a few more schools this year in Seven Oaks and Winnipeg School Division, adding a couple of schools in Mystery Lake up in Thompson coming up in 2026 as well. So the program grows and grows. The kids really lead it with the teachers, with the administrators, and making sure that in addition to the universal school nutrition programs in Manitoba, which are so incredibly important, and we're a big supporter of those, the kids are also getting the nutrition they need at home on the weekends. So as Peter would say, they're coming back to school on Monday, ready to learn.
Meals to Go is just one of the programs supported by Harvest Manitoba. There are 400 all across the province, and that's why we're here today, our special day of programming to make the season kind.
According to the 2025 Harvest Voices Report, 60,000 Manitobans access a food bank in our province every month. That's up 150% since 2020. Overall, 1/4 of all Manitobans are now living with some form of food insecurity, and our province has one of the highest poverty rates in the country. 1 in 10 Manitobans lives under the poverty line.
Still ahead this hour.
Success for me looks different. It doesn't look like the new car and the house. It's really stability. It's not having that anxiety at the grocery store maybe. It's that feeling of, oh, rent is due and I didn't flinch.
We're going to meet that woman, one of the many Manitobans with a job, who still needs to use the food bank. We'll have her story as Make the Season Kind continues on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for being with us for a special day of programming this snowy Friday morning. It's -13. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, or you might be watching on YouTube. And if you are, you're about to get a treat. Live now from Studio 11, we have Jocelyn Gould with accompanist Carl Cohat playing a tune called Game Changer. Jocelyn Gould is a product of the University of Manitoba Jazz Program. She got her master's degree at Michigan State, and she's a Winnipegger who won a Juno for her debut jazz album. What a joy and honor to have her here today. Here they are live on CBC. Juno Award winner Jocelyn Gould, accompanied by Carl Kohut. This is Game Changer. We're listening to a live performance in our Studio 11 this morning, our music studio, performance studio at CBC. Today, musicians have come together to help us make the season kind, CBC's day in support of Harvest Manitoba and its member agencies across the province. We'll have the latest totals coming up and more stories about the need in our community. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks so much for joining us. And if you're watching this morning, you're getting a special treat as well. We are switching gears to some news of the day, and that means that it's time for sports on CBC. Paul McGowan joins us live. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So let's start in D.C. We're going to learn who Canada's opponents are today in next year's World Cup. That's a big announcement.
It is. The World Cup draw taking place today. And Canada, as one of the host nations, has a better chance than normal at a favorable draw. But an easy draw is no guarantee today. Here's soccer analyst John Molinaro.
It's hugely important. You'll recall that in 2022, they found themselves in one of the hardest groups. And so, it wasn't a big surprise that Canada bowed out of the tournament after 3 losses. As much as the World Cup is an endurance race, there's also a fair deal of luck involved in this. And I think that's something that a lot of people either don't want to acknowledge or overlook. Friday's event is hugely important for Canada in terms of what kind of fate it might have.
That is the soccer side of things, Marcy. There's also a sort of a circus side of things this afternoon. You probably know that world leaders like Mark Carney will be in attendance. We will also see non-soccer stars like Shaquille O'Neal and Tom Brady who are there for some reason. And one more thing. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. The Village People are playing the FIFA World Cup draw this afternoon for reasons that I'm not entirely clear on.
Do you need a reason? Oh, really?
I guess.
Everyone will just do it. It'll happen. It just happens.
Everyone will do it. Yeah.
Let's go to hockey, an emotional night, actually, in the PWHL.
Yeah, in Toronto, the Scepters hosted their version of Hockey Fights Cancer. They call it Stick It to Cancer Night. It's an event that was in the works well before the big news of the week, which was that Ottawa Charge head coach Carla McLeod has been diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, she was behind the Ottawa bench last night for the first time since she announced that diagnosis on Sunday, and she got a very warm reception from the Toronto crowd, including a standing ovation.
I just think it speaks to the impact cancer has on all of our lives and how everything from a competitive piece just falls away and it's just a human piece. It's really overwhelming for me, but I just hope to pay it forward. I'm the name on the sign right now, but we all have signs, and we saw it when people hold up who they're thinking about when it comes to cancer. But this reception, I just can't even articulate. It's overwhelming, but in the best way possible.
A night when you could argue that hockey was the second most important thing going on. And speaking of hockey, a post on the Winnipeg Jets website that was very quickly taken down indicated that the Jets may be playing an outdoor Heritage Classic against the Canadiens next season. No official word yet, but a ghost post suggesting that might be the case.
Oh, everyone's going, woo, in Winnipeg right now. I am, anyway. Let's finish with basketball, though. One of the best players who may have played his final game now on Canadian soil, right?
Yeah, LeBron James, no guarantee that he plays beyond this season. He and the Lakers were in Toronto last night. It ended up being something of a turning point game for LeBron James because, Marcy, for almost 1,300 straight games, he had put up at least 10 points. He fails to do that last night for the first time since 2007. I don't think he minded too much. The Lakers win it on a buzzer beater, and James said that he was just sort of soaking up the love from Toronto fans.
They're amazing. I love it. I don't know how many games I have left here in this building, but these fans are unbelievable. This city is unbelievable. Always welcome me with open arms. Either if I was coming here to play a basketball game or just coming here to visit, I've always loved and appreciate the fans' support here, man. They're one of a kind for sure.
Lots of LeBron jerseys in the stands last night, and the Raptors right back at it tonight against Charlotte.
All right. Thanks very much, Paul.
Thanks, Marcy.
Well, we have a total to announce here going into 7:30. We are now halfway through our morning show for Make This Season Kind on CBC, a day in support of Harvest Manitoba. $22,661 already, Manitoba. Thank you on behalf of Harvest. With matching, that is double that. We have an anonymous donor who's going to match up to $100,000. So can we get there this morning? We also have Joanne challenging retired teachers. She's a retired teacher giving a donation. If you have something to give, please consider going to 982-3581, 204-982-3581. More stories and more music from Juno Award winner Jocelyn Gould after the news.
This is CBC News. At 7:30, we're at minus 12 degrees with partly cloudy skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good morning. I'm Matt Humphrey. A Winnipeg mother and business owner says she still has to turn to food banks. Miranda Merle-Courtois runs her own spray tan business, but despite her success, she uses Harvest Manitoba's services on a month-to-month basis. Now she's giving back to the organization, which helped feed her and her 10-year-old daughter.
If you bring a tin for the bin, a non-perishable for Harvest Manitoba, after your spray tan service, people are able to pick a present from under the tree. Every present has a discount from 10 to 50% off.
According to Harvest Manitoba, 1/3 of food bank users are employed. Meanwhile, Christmas is coming early for some holiday charities in Manitoba. The province has announced it's selling its stockpile of American liquor, pulled off shelves earlier this year in retaliation for U.S. tariffs. Profits from the sales will go to charities in Winnipeg, Brandon, and Thompson. Shauna Bell is executive director of the Christmas Cheer Board. She says the extra funds are much needed.
Costs were up significantly this year. So over the last 5 years, it's increased by about 30% just overall. So that means we're not going to end up in a deficit position going into the new year. It means that we're going to be able to pay our bills, and it means that if we need to, we're also going to be able to purchase more food and more toys so that we don't run out for the end of the year.
Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries expects $500,000 could end up in charities' coffers. The U.S. products will be on sale through Christmas Eve. Premier Wab Kinew says his government is taking steps to encourage more grocery competition. Right now, grocery companies use property controls to limit competitors from setting up shop nearby. MLAs passed a bill this spring to end that practice in the hopes more competition will lower grocery prices. Kinew says there were 66 locations affected in Manitoba when the bill became law. Now there are 46.
Now, when it comes to the remaining 46 property controls, I've asked our Minister of Public Service Delivery to challenge every single one of them.
That's Kinew speaking at question period yesterday, the last one of the year. MLAs are now on their winter break and won't return to the chamber until March. The bodies of dozens of dead geese are scattered across a Niverville retention pond. It's a result of an avian flu outbreak. Frank Baldwin is a biologist with the Canadian Wildlife Service. He says the virus naturally lives in waterfowl, but it's unusual to see mortality rates this high.
We typically don't see this scale of mortality, especially in urban ponds like this, so a bit of a precedent for us. So to date, folks with Canadian Wildlife Service and also the province have been cleaning up carcasses here for the last, I think, about 3 weeks or so.
Baldwin says outbreaks tend to coincide with colder weather when birds are more concentrated. The virus is low risk to humans. He advises people and their pets to stay away from the dead birds. For only $800,000, you can be the owner of the former headquarters of the Manitoba Progressive Conservatives. The PC's former home at 23 Kennedy Street is up for sale. The 3,600-square-foot house faces the Lieutenant Governor's residence and the grounds of the Manitoba Legislature. The PC's moved into new offices on Donald Street earlier this year. And finally, the Steinbach Neighbors for Community Group is bringing a new show to a local church this weekend. Christians in the 2S LGBTQ+ community are hoping to use faith and music to bring people together this Christmas. Messiah Queered is a fresh take on the 18th century Handel work, Messiah, telling the story of Jesus Christ. The show already has support from 3 churches, including the Steinbach United Church and the Grace Mennonite Church. Trevor Kirchhoff is one of the group's leaders. He says the support is welcome.
There are individuals who have experienced a lot of trauma in the church. So to have an event where these churches are affirming and welcoming and so supportive, it's a really beautiful thing.
The first performance is tonight at St. Mark's Lutheran Church in Winnipeg and then at Grace Mennonite Church on Sunday. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, Marcy.
Yes.
May I just say a quick note? This just moments ago, Netflix is set to buy Warner Brothers Discovery.
Oh, okay.
The
So
streaming
business
giant.
news this morning.
Big business news this morning. Really big business news, and that's going to include film studios as well as HBO Max.
Okay.
So bulking up the world's biggest streaming service.
Well, we'll have to have more analysis with our reporters, biz reporters later today. Thanks, Matt.
Back soon.
Matt's live in our news center. It's time for your regional forecast on Friday. It's a special day today. We're making the season kind in support of Harvest Manitoba. And Abby, I have to say, the weather kind of cooperated, because always when we do this show, I'm thinking about coming together and community, and there's a love and coziness. And I'm a fan of winter, you know that. So I don't mind that we're kind of in toques out there today and, thinking about our community.
Well, Marcy, I'm tracking snow coming our way for sure into the weekend, so it's going to create that coziness. And that would come with some windy conditions actually across most of the province. Winnipeg right now, we're hovering between -12 and -13. Clear outside, but we're seeing cloudy conditions heading our way. Those clouds will get thick as we get into the morning. Then we see periods of light snow that should end in the afternoon period, leaving behind gusty winds from the northwest, and we'll see our daytime high around -9. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region at this time. You will be holding steady around -9 for most of the day, expecting light snow to pass through that region before clearing later. For Brandon, light snow falling at this time, -8. That should taper off also this afternoon. You get to -9 later. Dauphin is at -8 at this time, also light snow falling there. You warm to about, you get to you see high around a -11 later. In Gimli, -15, warming to -9, expecting snow that should end this afternoon with some brisk winds coming off of the lake. For the powerful influence surrounding communities, the snow is drifting in that part of the province along with gusty winds. That's great in your morning. Temperatures around -14. Conditions will cool to -17 later in the afternoon. The wind chill at this time feels like -28, -29. For Thompson, we're looking at light snow falling, -18 at this time. Also getting those snows drifting here and there. That should ease off as you get into the morning, then more like leaving behind flurries, and your wind chills is hovering around -29 at this time in Thompson. And lastly, looking at conditions around Churchill and the York region into Tuduli Lake, we're looking at temperatures hover between -20 and -23 in that part of the province, with blowing snow and wind chill near -35. So fresh snow on its way, Marcy, and living behind windy conditions. But Winnipeg right now, we're looking at -12s and -13s, depending on where you are in the city, and snow on its way.
Corey?
The highways around Thompson this morning may be some poor visibility as well as some slippery conditions. So just heads up there. Other than that, though, it's been pretty quiet here in Winnipeg. But if you do see something going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right. Thanks very much, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, next on Make the Season Kind, Tuxedo, maybe one of Winnipeg's more affluent neighborhoods, but it doesn't mean there are not people there who are in need. The Tuxedo Family Resource Center provides a crucial service in that neighborhood. It says 15 families are assisted with grocery items every single week. CBC Manitoba's community reporter, Shanley Vidal, stopped by that food bank to hear more.
Potatoes, onions, we get that every month, and a whole bunch of bananas. Lots of banana bread tonight. Hi, I'm Michelle Kane.
So there is a bag of potatoes.
How long have you been coming here?
So I would have been 24-ish. And I had a little baby in my arms and going to a food bank and crying all the way there, thinking I was a poor parent for not supplying for my baby and all this stuff, and just nonsense. But I cried through the whole process because I felt like a failure, but it's not. Everybody needs it. It doesn't matter what your income is, what your situation is. They'll give you food if you ask. You just phone Winnipeg Harvest and put your name, medical number in, and you're in.
Oh, okay.
There's no shame. There's no shame in it at all.
Can you tell me a little bit in your own words, I know you kind of touched on it, about why Harvest, why resources like this food bank are so important?
Oh, especially now with the immigrants from Ukraine and Israel, and just our country's gotten so much bigger, and all the prices have gone up because of tariffs and such, and we just can't. Like a tin of coffee used to cost $6.99. It's $30.47 now. It's ridiculous. You can't live anymore at home. On assistance, working, it doesn't matter. Everybody can benefit from it, and they're very pleasant people. I love them here.
Hey, and that's it, girls. Okay.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Tufo, and I am with Family Dynamics. I work at the Tuxedo Family Resource Center. So every week we have about 15 families come through, and we kind of have it like as a shopping style. So we just put out the items that Harvest gives to us, and then they come and they pick the ones that they would like. We do have some seniors come through. We also have some members of our community, because we're located in Manitoba Housing. So we do have some members of our community come through, and then we have others from I would say across the city coming through, and they're just a diverse number of people.
Some Honey Nut Cheerios back here.
I would say Harvest makes a very big difference for a lot of people. For our food bank, we get it once a month, and the people who come through get it once a month, but they are always so grateful to have it, and they will tell you that it really makes a difference in their lives. Even if they get to feed their child for that one day or that week, it really, really makes a difference for them.
And I don't know if you have the tuna.
You and a couple of volunteers were really busy before the doors opened for the food bank. Can you tell me a little bit about the prep of getting everything out on the tables and ready for clients?
Yeah, so we, because we're a smaller food bank, we go out and pick the food from Harvest. So we drive to Harvest every morning or every Wednesday morning, and we come here, and then we take it out of the car. We package it nicely, like it's seen over there. And I would say, like, big props to our volunteers. They are like the backbone of our food banks.
This is kale.
They help us so much, and also to our staff, like they're amazing, and they put their heart and soul in it. You might think it's just them giving out food that we got, but it's really more than that.
Basically, I wanted to volunteer somewhere in the community, and this is my community. I recognize a real need, and when we don't have bread, something like bread, I feel bad. We usually have potatoes, which is always a good thing, but when we don't have bread and when we don't have a dairy, I always feel bad that we don't have that to give to the people.
My name is Greg Schroeder. I'm the Community Food Network Manager at Harvest.
The food bank we're at right now, there are 15 families. So you try to have 15 of each item, or you must have 15 of each item, I understand. What happens if you don't have enough?
So yeah, the goal is that each client would get the same thing. So if we're sending 15 of all our staple items, but say we get to like bread or something, and we only had 10, we wouldn't send any, so that all the clients that came to this food bank would get the same thing, and not feeling like because they came late, they're missing out on something.
How fast does product move out of Harvest and into food banks?
I mean, honestly, like what we get in, if we were to like stop getting anything, we'd run out in days. Like everything's coming in and going out just about as fast as it, like on a week-by-week basis. A lot of people don't realize that any one of us are just, a paycheck or two away from being a client. So like clients can be anyone. And so the impact of making sure that any client that comes to Harvest is getting that support, it's essential. And I mean, really, it's why I do my job.
We are making the season kind this morning. It's our special day of programming for Harvest Manitoba, live on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, or you might be watching on YouTube. We were hearing there from food bank volunteer Heather Thompson in that item. That was CBC Manitoba's community reporter Shanley Vidal out visiting a food bank in a place where I think is going to be a bit of a myth buster. This one's in Tuxedo. It's their family resource center. They have a weekly food bank. Also thanks to Jeff Stapleton and Jason Empsom for their work on that story. Well, right now the time is coming up to 7:45. Hard to believe we're already at this point of our morning. We're trying to get in as much live music as we can, and it's because we have got some talent with us today. Winnipegger Jocelyn Gould is with us, Juno Award winner for her debut jazz album, spends a lot of her time touring the world. She just performed here last weekend at a tribute concert for Oscar Peterson, and she's live right now and about to play again with us, accompanied by Carl Kohut. What was that concert like on the weekend?
Oh, it was beautiful. It was my first time playing with the Winnipeg Symphony, which of course I grew up going to see with my family, and we just had a great time. We had so much fun.
What's it like playing with the symphony? That's one of my like dreams, not to do it. I don't have this talent, but I always imagine like having a talent like yours and, doing that. What was it like?
Oh, it was incredible. As jazz musicians, we're used to working in smaller configurations. So for me, I was sitting right beside the strings, like right in front of the string section. So just to have this wash of sound and just such incredible musicianship on stage was beautiful.
Your whole body must have been vibrating in front of the strings.
I couldn't stop smiling.
Yeah, this was for, as I mentioned, Oscar Peterson's 100th birthday. What got you interested, though, like when you think about your own musical journey and playing the guitar?
I started as a teenager, as most teenagers do, just in my bedroom. My brother showed me how to play power chords, and I started listening to blues, guitar, and slowly got into jazz music. So it was kind of a gradual thing for me.
You grew up singing in choirs more than playing. So, and then you said jazz you got hooked on. When did you fall in love with the guitar? You start by thinking, oh, I love this. But when did you not only fall in love, but I guess I should ask, realize I'm also really good at this?
I knew, I think from when my brother showed me how to play my first chord and said, "You'll never be as good as me, so you can quit now." And I said,
"Brothers,
I'm still working to prove him wrong." So yeah, yes.
Where have you been over the last 12 months? I mentioned touring the world, so it's taking you all over the place.
Yeah, I've been on the road about 10 months this year, all over North America, all over Europe, Asia as well.
I just want to ask what it means to be part of our broadcast today, Make the Season Kind for Harvest Manitoba.
Really incredible. It's not, every day you get to try and be a part of something meaningful for your own community. And I just have such fond memories of these initiatives when I was young. So this is really special.
Well, we're really grateful you're able to be here. I'll let you have a seat as we get ready for Jocelyn to perform live here in Studio 11, accompanied by Carl Kohut. We're grateful you're here, Carl, as well. Thank you. As we make this season kind, live music and performers are such a big part of our day. What are you going to be performing? I should have asked that.
We're going to play a tune that I wrote. This is called You're No Fun at All.
Maybe it's for your brother?
Yes.
This is Jocelyn Gould, accompanied by Carl Kohut live, and You're No Fun at All. Man, that sounds beautiful. Mixed by May McKillop there in Studio 11 this morning. Thanks to Jocelyn Gould, who's performing live. Juno Award winner, accompanied by Carl Kohut for Make the Season Kind. Big part of our day is live music and the stories of need in our community. That tune's called You're No Fun at All.
According to the 2025 Harvest Voices report, families with children under the age of 18 are accessing the food bank at increased rates. 62% of those families say they go hungry once a month or more because they can't afford food. Manitoba has the highest child poverty rate of any province. 1 out of every 4 children is affected. And in Winnipeg Centre, it's worse. The average child poverty rate is 41%.
Today, we make the season kind to try to improve some of those grim statistics. To this hour, you have donated $35,927. We are off the air in about 40 minutes from now. If you have it to donate, just want to remind you, you can call 204-982-3581 or cbc.ca/kindmb. Everything you donate up to $100,000 will be matched by an anonymous donor. So that means if we get to 100, we're effectively at 2. And remember, $1 means $10 of buying power for Harvest Manitoba. Well, next on the show, as we continue with the stories of need in the community, not every food bank user looks the same, of course. That's the message of a Manitoban who's taken it upon herself to tell her friends and family and clients that she uses a food bank. Miranda Merle-Courtois shared her story with CBC's Chloe Friesen, and Chloe's in studio with details. Hi there.
Good morning.
So tell us about Miranda. When did you first hear her story?
So it was actually back in November. I was scrolling through Instagram, as so many of us do, and I came across this video that kind of surprised me.
I'm one of the tens of thousands of Manitobans that has accessed a food bank through Harvest Manitoba this past year. If you don't know me, hi, my name's Miranda. I'm a spray tan artist in Winnipeg. I own Tan Mommy Glow Co. And the reason I talk about it is because the more we talk about needing help and normalizing it, the more we remove the stigma for somebody else.
So that's Miranda Merle-Courtois telling the internet that she's one of the 60,000 Manitobans who use a food bank each month. She's 34, a single mom to a 10-year-old daughter, and she runs her own small spray tanning business. The video was actually posted to her business account as part of a holiday promotion. She goes on to ask her clients to bring a non-perishable item, trying to fill one of those yellow Harvest Manitoba donation bins.
It's a vulnerable thing, to put yourself out there, especially on social media, and share with your clients and with the wider public. What motivated her to do it?
So I visited her studio space to ask. It's nestled in the basement of a nail salon, decorated with disco balls, candles, and Diet Coke memorabilia. That's where she filmed the video.
I said, what if I just shared it one time? What if I made it look like, hey, a Harvest recipient looks like me. It can look like anybody.
She also said that it was a little less scary reaching out for help because she watched her mom do it when she was a kid.
She was a stay-at-home mom, and then when she was a single mom, I kind of saw it because I was 14 at the time, so she was always open with us. We always knew. And then when we were in a position to help people, she kind of showed us that that's what you do.
Miranda told me she's been going to Harvest Manitoba for 8 years now. She still remembers the feeling of relief after getting her first hamper. While she doesn't go every month, inflation and rising housing costs have made budgeting unpredictable.
It's almost like anger. It's almost because it's so unfair that we're all working full-time jobs. We're doing our absolute best. And then sometimes I feel like it's almost like anxiety that we're around grocery shopping because I'll put everything and I'm taking things out.
What are we seeing then by the stats in Manitoba when it comes to people with jobs accessing food banks?
It's not out of the ordinary. Actually, 1/3 of food bank users in this province are employed. Harvest Manitoba President and CEO Vince Barletta told me that this is a growing trend. 60% of their clients use their services on a month-to-month basis as a safety net. It's something becoming more common as food costs continue to rise.
It's a real challenge, and especially for folks that are really living on those tight budgets month to month, which is a growing proportion of Manitobans. That food bank has become part of Manitoba's social safety net.
While Vince says Harvest will always be there for Manitobans when they need it, he wants to see more social supports dedicated to low-income Manitobans. Now, I also spoke with a professor of economics and labor studies who echoed this call. Jesse Hager at the University of Manitoba told me that inflation and a rising cost of living disproportionately affect people who earn less. So that pressure isn't felt evenly across Manitoba's population. Hager says that means that government strategies like tax cuts only really benefit those who have the money to spend.
We'll actually ask Vince more about that after 8. We are looking at the benefit breakdown and the ask of governments and the change that Harvest says is needed to really make people's lives better. I want to end with Miranda, though. How's she doing this holiday season this year?
She's doing really well. She recently celebrated her business's 1-year anniversary and won't actually need a hamper this Christmas. It's a big part of why she decided to do this donation drive.
My dream is just, of course, to see my business succeed, but succeed in a way where if I'm fed, if we're housed, I can give back and we can keep building and growing and really being that community for kind of everyone who needs it.
Chloe, thanks for bringing us her story.
Thank you.
That is a Chloe Friesen with a report about Miranda Merle-Courtois and her social media efforts to break this stigma. We will talk more to Vince Barletta from Harvest Manitoba. Right now, though, we are going to get headlines at 3 minutes to 8 o'clock from Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. On theme, this morning we're hearing from Manitoba Charities thrilled to hear they'll be getting extra cash this Christmas. The province says it'll sell its stockpile of U.S. liquor. Some $1 million worth has been gathering dust in a warehouse for months. Casualties of the ongoing trade war with the Trump administration. But now, following the example set by Nova Scotia, Manitoba will sell the booze and give the proceeds to holiday charities. We'll hear more after World Report.
Thanks, Matt.
Back soon.
-12 light snow in Winnipeg, and today's high will be -9 in the city. Your commute's fine this Friday, 788-3093 if you need to reach us. Coming up after 8 o'clock on the show, we've been hearing about families, a growing demographic when it comes to people accessing Harvest Food Bank programs. We're going to hear from a family member, a woman who says she lost her job. And even though she's working part-time now, she just says she can't manage to feed everyone in her house. So to take care of things, she's accessing help from Harvest. We'll hear her story after 8. In addition, after 8 o'clock, we have a live performance coming up as part of our programming. We're going to hear from Arnold Osai, Arnold J., who's going to join us. The story of a singer-songwriter who came from Ghana to Winnipeg after being shocked by the snow, he says. He'll tell us what keeps him in our winter city. And today, he'll help make the season kind. We're listening to live music from Juno Award winner Jocelyn Gould right now. Jocelyn and Carl Kohat, thank you so much for your time and your talents. They're going to play us up to the top of the clock in World Report as our special day of broadcasting in support of Harvest Manitoba continues. Remember those numbers, 982-3581, 204-982-3581, or cbc.ca/kindmanitoba. Every dollar translates to $10 to support Harvest and its 400 member agencies across our community. Stay with us.
On cue. The Deers were part of a movement of music from Canada around the early 2000s that changed everything. They and Stars and Broken Social Scene defined Canadian indie rock. So Murray and Natalia from the Deers will be here to talk about that time and what they had to go through to make their latest record.
And now war is at our doorstep.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
A new drug is offering huge promise in fighting AIDS, reducing the risk of HIV transmission by 99.9%. The manufacturer is also licensing low-cost versions of the drug. How to get it to the people who need it most on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Today in Washington, there will be a draw for the opening round of this summer's FIFA World Cup. Soccer fans will be watching closely to see how the 48 teams will be matched up, and political watchers will also be paying careful attention to see what happens on the sidelines between Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump. They are expected to meet briefly today, so let's bring in Janice McGregor from our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, what kind of expectations are being set by the Prime Minister's office ahead of what is admittedly a short meeting?
John, this event is going to be stacked with celebrities. It's a big FIFA commercial, really, for a global audience. Mark Carney can't walk into a venue that's going to be decked out with giant gold soccer balls and think Donald Trump's going to somehow lean in on softwood lumber. The Prime Minister's office yesterday was out lowering expectations, saying this encounter is going to be brief. Carney isn't going to the White House, but it will be the second time the two leaders have lined up for a friendly in the aftermath of the president's blow-up over those Ronald Reagan ads that the Ontario government ran during the World Series. Trump still hasn't followed through on his threat to slap more tariffs on Canada in retaliation. Negotiators still aren't back at the table. But across town today, it's going to be the third day of hearings as a parade of business stakeholders weigh in on the future of the three-way North American trade relationship, with the vast majority of them so far telling Trump's trade representative this deal could be improved, but it needs to continue. Canada's former chief negotiator, Steve Verhoeven, was among them yesterday, and this was his advice.
We need to be patient. Now is not a time when we're going to get a very good deal out of the U.S., but I think conditions will improve over time.
Anxieties may be running high at home, but if you read the room in Washington today, pretty clear the focus is going to be on TV ratings, not tariff rate quotas.
So, a three-way trade agreement and a three-way World Cup hosting. Mark Carney supposed to meet with the Mexican president today. What are you watching for there?
The minister in charge of Canada's negotiations, Dominic LeBlanc, he's been in Mexico this week, laying track towards a big trade mission set for February, and meeting with his counterpart at a time when they're both strategizing for the scheduled review of their shared trade deal next July 1st, which, funnily enough, just happens to fall smack in the middle of a certain high-profile footy tournament.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
And today's World Cup festivities are being held at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Included on the agenda will be the awarding of FIFA's first ever Global Peace Prize. And the recipient is expected to be Donald Trump. Some breaking economic news. For the third month in a row, Canada added jobs. Statistics Canada has just released its November employment report, showing a gain of 54,000 jobs, and that's drawing the unemployment rate down to 6.5% from 6.9% in October. CBC's senior business correspondent Peter Armstrong has more.
This is much higher than pretty much anybody was expecting. Canadian employers have now added 180,000 jobs just since September. That's 3 straight months of major gains, and it drags the unemployment rate down considerably. It's hard to look at these numbers and not see at least something of an economic rebound. Remember, September's GDP numbers saw the economy return to growth in the third quarter after a major contraction in the spring, but and it's an important but, these are largely part-time jobs. They are private sector part-time jobs, but still you'd like to see more full-time jobs added. But especially in the current economic context of a trade war, of diminished business investment under this cloud of uncertainty, a report like this just highlights that resiliency that we've seen throughout this crisis as the economy just keeps finding new ways to adjust. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Netflix is acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. The $72 billion cash and stock deal announced today brings massive film and TV assets, including HBO Max and DC Studios, under one roof. The move marks a major strategic shift for Netflix, which had previously expressed no interest in owning legacy media networks. Netflix has promised to continue theatrical releases for Warner Films. The massive transaction is expected to close in late 2026. The Pentagon says U.S. forces have carried out another deadly strike on alleged drug smugglers in the Pacific Ocean. For months, the Navy has carried out close to 24 attacks in international waters, both in the Pacific and the Caribbean. Dozens of people have been killed. The Trump administration says it's part of the campaign to keep illegal drugs out of the U.S. This latest attack comes in the midst of congressional concern about the legality of the strikes. Willie Lowry is in our Washington bureau. Willie, what can you tell us about this latest strike?
So it happened in the Eastern Pacific. Video released by U.S. Southern Command shows a boat speeding through open waters and then suddenly disappearing beneath an inferno. The U.S. military says Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth ordered the strike and that it killed 4 alleged drug smugglers. It is the 22nd time that the U.S. has carried out such attacks since September. The vast majority of the strikes have occurred in the Caribbean. At least 87 people have been killed so far.
So, Willie, the controversy surrounding this ongoing deadly unilateral U.S. action is growing, isn't it?
Absolutely. The strike occurred on the same day that the commander who oversaw the very first strike on September 2nd appeared before lawmakers on Capitol Hill. There's growing bipartisan concern over the legality of these strikes. The House and Senate Armed Services Committee looked at video of the first, which showed 2 strikes, the first blowing up a boat and then a follow-up hit killing 2 people who had survived the initial explosion. Democratic Representative Adam Smith says the video did little to alleviate his concerns.
The idea that these 2 were going to be able to return to the fight, even if you accept all of the questionable legal premises around this mission, around these strikes, it's still very hard to imagine how these 2 were returning to any sort of fight in that condition.
The White House has defended the strikes and says it's protecting Americans by preventing drugs from entering the country by sea.
Willie Lowry in our Washington Bureau. Thanks, Willie.
My pleasure.
Trade, defense, and strategic ties are all being discussed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit to India. But underlying much of the conversation is the Kremlin's war on Ukraine. Salima Shivji has more from Mumbai.
A classical Indian dance on the tarmac as Vladimir Putin landed in New Delhi Thursday evening, greeted also with a warm embrace from India's Narendra Modi, there personally to welcome Russia's president, a rare gesture from the prime minister meant to underline the close ties between the 2 leaders. Amidst more ceremony, there was talk of the war in Ukraine, with Modi once again saying India is on the side of peace, and the leaders signed an economic cooperation agreement to expand trade until 2030.
Economic cooperation program पर
The visit is also steeped in symbolism. For Putin, it's about showing he's not so politically isolated. But this is a diplomatic tightrope for India, trying to balance a long-standing historical alliance with Russia, its biggest defense supplier that dates to the Soviet era, and the South Asian country's ties to a once friendly but increasingly volatile Trump administration. Washington imposed punishing tariffs on India in August, blaming it for buying sanctioned Russian crude oil financing the war in Ukraine. Putin saying today he can provide uninterrupted fuel supplies to India.
The U.S. is a much bigger market for India than
Dilip Sinha is a former Indian diplomat and commentator.
We have to ensure that we do nothing with Russia that will give Trump another excuse to put blame on India. So obviously that has to be at the back of our mind.
Still, he says the summit is also a sign that India has other options and won't necessarily buckle under U.S. pressure. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
The Italian Air Force aerobatic team flies over the presidential palace in Rome. It's where the Olympic flame for Milano Cortina 2026 was lit today, signaling the countdown to the Winter Games is official. The flame is now beginning its 12,000-kilometer journey, carried by 10,001 torchbearers uniting the country on its way to the opening ceremonies. And finally,
it is Make This Season Kind.
CBC's annual campaign to raise money for food banks Make the Season Kind is taking place across the country today, at a time when statistics show the need this winter is very real. Across Canada, families are struggling to put food on the table. 1 in 3 relying on food banks is a child. You can join the campaign by making a simple, powerful donation, with every dollar going directly to your local community food bank. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
I've been coming to Harvest ever since I lost my full-time job, and I have a family to look after. So because I'm working part-time, this really supports me a little bit. I had to break the pride in me, and I had to be like, okay, now this is it. I have to do this. It's not that I'm broke. I can't get back on my feet or I'm failing. It's just that I need some little help, and I can go through this. Hi, I'm Joy. You're listening to Make the Season Kind, a day in support of Harvest Manitoba on CBC Radio 1.
I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thank you for joining us on our special day of programming all day. All of our programs and platforms dedicated to making the season kind and supporting Harvest Manitoba and its some 400 agencies and programs all across the province. $1 equals $10 because they make that dollar stretch in what they're able to buy and give to those food programs. So your help means a lot. We'll give you an updated total in a moment. Also, this half hour on the show, we'll hear more from Joy and other families. They're a growing demographic when it comes to people accessing Harvest Food Bank programs. In our headlines, we're going to get another piece of the picture as well. And for live music from Studio 11, we have Arnold Osse, who's going to be performing, aka Arnold J. He will be doing live music for us. We've been gifted with live artists all morning long. Thanks for joining us here on our special morning on CBC 89.3 FM. Well, I mentioned news headlines. With those, Matt Humphrey is in for Heather Wells again today. Hi, Matt.
Good morning. As we've been hearing this morning, Harvest Manitoba says 1/3 of food bank users have jobs, highlighting the high cost of living. At the bottom of the hour, we'll hear from an economist out of the U of M. He's calling for more targeted social programs rather than tax cuts. We'll hear why at 8:30. And Winnipeg fans of the composer Handel may want to check out a new show tonight at St. Mark's Lutheran Church. It's a new rendition of his classic work Messiah, but this one is called Messiah Queered. It's put on by a Steinbach community group representing local Christians in the 2S LGBTQ+ community. We'll hear more at the bottom of the hour.
Thank you, Matt.
Back soon.
Abby, Friday morning out there. The blinds are down, so I don't know if it's snowing. What's up?
Okay, I'm going to do that right
Okay, have a
away.
peek.
It's just about to start.
Okay. How much are we going to get?
Well, 13 degrees right now in Winnipeg. The clouds are building. Periods of snow will move in soon, and that would last into the afternoon period. We're going to see winds coming from the northwest, and that will keep our temperatures near -9 for most of the day. The wind chill this morning to deal with. It feels like -28 outside. Across other parts of southern Manitoba, we're seeing temperatures around -6. If you travel towards Melita and around Sprague, we're looking at -10s and -12 there. While up north, we're seeing -23 into Dooley Lake, -20 in Churchill, and -19 around Lynn Lake. But Winnipeg, we're hovering between -12 and -13, and we warm to -9 later.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk's been watching traffic. What's up now?
Yeah, northbound Archibald, just past Elizabeth. There's emergency crews blocking that northbound curb lane on Archibald and the median lane as well, just partially. So just use caution when you're going around that. Also, if you're on the highways around Thompson today, might be poor visibility, might be some slippery conditions for you and some snowy conditions. So heads up if you're on the highways around Thompson, heading to Gillam, Lynn Lake, or also south on Highway 6 as well. If you see anything, though, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. Been a pretty quiet commute overall otherwise. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
A day of programming in support of Harvest Manitoba. You're listening to CBC's Make the Season Kind. You can help the hungry in our province by visiting cbc.ca/kindmb or by calling 204-982-3581.
Let's look at some stats here. The most common issues, according to Harvest's latest report, that prevent Harvest clients from working. Matt was just talking about those who are working and still needing. But the most common issues that prevent people from finding employment are illness and disability. And some are in caregiving roles to family members as well. Vince Barletta is obviously president and CEO of Harvest and is here to expand a little bit on that. What's that like for people when they really would like to be employed, but it's just they have other things going on in their life and they have to tend to those?
Well, you know, your life changes for many people overnight. And for many, that means that they're no longer able to work, or they're not able to work the same hours or the kind of work that they did. And for so many, that means a loss of income, sometimes a complete loss of employment. And so we see for hundreds of thousands of Canadians, having a disability or acquiring a disability in your life becomes a life sentence to poverty. And as it stands today, 1/3 of people that are unemployed who use a food bank in Manitoba, disability and illness are the reasons why. And another 15% are caring for someone that has disability or illness. So you combine those things, almost half of unemployed folks that are going to food banks in Manitoba, illness and disability either for themselves or a loved one is a big part of the story.
How can changes from any level of government help in terms of policies or in terms of benefits that would be I want to say beneficial, but I'm trying to look for a better word, but like would really target the problems?
Well, across this country, Harvest has been working with our friends at food banks across the country, including Daily Bread in Toronto and others, around what we're calling Fund the Benefit. And this is about fully funding a Canada Disability Benefit. A couple of years ago, the federal government implemented a disability benefit for Canadians that qualify. Right now, the maximum benefit is $200 a month. That's not cutting it when you think about the specific challenges that people with disability face across this country. Looking to see that amount be raised to $500 a month, and Harvest is part of a larger campaign with food banks and other poverty groups across the country.
That are lobbying for that.
Lobbying for an increase to the Canada Disability Benefit.
One of the listeners wrote in and says that they have a friend who, to make sure that her kids are eating, hasn't had any food for days. My husband and I both work full time. We're struggling with bills, mortgage, food prices. Who can afford anything? And this person highlights meat prices, saying they're just unreal, can't afford to buy much anymore. It's not fair to anyone right now. So this is affecting all kinds of folks. What do we have for the totals so far now, Vince? Where are we at?
Well, the totals, just this past hour, continuing to go up, $39,050 with the match. That's over $78,000. So those numbers keep going up. I'll just remind folks as well, Joanne challenging retired teachers if they can make a gift. And we had a $1,000 gift from the Rotary Club of Winnipeg and challenging other Rotary clubs to do the same. So Rotarians, let's hear those phones ring.
Thank you, Vince. 8:17 the time on your Friday morning. We're making the season kind. And let's go back to our music studio, Studio 11, and hear from an artist named Arnold J. Goes by Arnold J. Arnold Osse is performing for us this morning. We called him up to be part of our musical programming. We've spun some of his tunes here on Information Radio. Abby and I love him. So he's part of Make the Season Kind, and we're thrilled to have him. He's a singer-songwriter. And before we talk to him, let's hear one of his tunes. This is Eden Burning live on 89.3.
Well, I feel like I wanna be loose. Every day when I'm bound, well, I feel wound and tired of you. That's a catch if a simple story. It's one big lie, but it's good truth that we can hide. I sail with 7 ropes, and the boat that never floats. Then on a sea that never flows. This mind is mine, but I can't change it. I got a message from you, love. I started bling, then I started cry. When you asked of our forbidden garden, thorns on the roses are growing sharper every day, and Eden is burning. But baby, I'll be there when you're gone. Eden is burning. But baby, I'll be there when you're gone. Baby, I'll be there. Eden is burning. It's burning. But baby, I'll be there when you're gone. Who can quench the fire burning higher? It's spreading as it goes. Who are we to put it out? Watch that flaming bush out in the night. You walk on holy ground. I see you next time around. Well, Eden is burning. But baby, I'll be there when you're gone. Eden is burning. But baby, I'll be there when you're gone. Oh, tiger, tiger, burning bright. That fearful symmetry in my eyes. I stand before you as I am. Whoever made you made a lamb. Whoever made you made a lamb. And Eden is burning. But baby, I'll be there when you're gone. Baby, I'll be there when you're gone. Baby, I'll be there when you're gone.
Arnold Osse live in Studio 11, a.k.a. Arnold J. Originally from Ghana, now from Manitoba, contributing to our community day to make the season kind with his beautiful music. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
I don't know which mic he should be on. Is this okay if I move both mics? All right, our text saying stay here. And you can keep talking there, Arnold. Live radio, folks. Tell me a little bit about your music. How do you balance playing and performing? I understand you also teach over at one of the universities, right?
Yeah, Red River College, yeah.
So how do you find time for your music?
Well, you find time for things that, that just you love.
Yeah.
And music's one of those things, It's like, how do you find time for your kids or for your spouse or something? It's, if you really like something, if you really love it, you're always going to make time for it. And it's, it's a big task to juggle between, work and music. But, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, we love that you made time for community today. Today's, of course, obviously all about coming together to think about making the season kind and help people who have need. When you moved here to study at the U of W originally in Journey to Canada, why did you choose to stay here in Winnipeg? Why did you make your home?
Well, Manitobans are very nice people. And you can see that sort of reflected in Harvest, Manitoba, with kind of the work they're doing. And that kind of just speaks about the collective consciousness of the people of Manitoba. And so when you see things like that, you're like, you want to stay here a bit longer and get that kind of energy and, get to meet more people. Friendly Manitoba, is what they say. And so, that was one of the reasons I was like, I'll stick around a bit longer.
Arnold J is going to play another tune for us still ahead this half hour. But first, we have a final story on our broadcast this morning. Caring for others while unemployed is a common struggle for people who rely on Harvest Manitoba for help. We've been hearing that today. Over 2/3 of Harvest clients are currently unemployed, mostly because of illness, disability, or caregiving, as Vince was sharing this half hour. They've seen an increase in families with children, too, under 18. In 2020, it was 32%. Today, it's 45%. That's according to Harvest's new Voices report. Corey Funk spent a morning at Harvest's bi-weekly food bank in the Winnipeg headquarters here in the city, and he saw a lot of people come in and out with a lot of young kids. He talked to a few parents picking up food for their families. Parents like Malvin, whose last name we're withholding because he's worried his story might keep him from being hired in the future.
Been doing this for 8 straight months, and it's really big. It's a really big help for us, especially all the foods and commodities the prices are really high. And
what led you to start coming to Harvest?
When I got unemployed, also because of my depression and anxiety that's limiting me to go to work. Also, I have a son who's autistic, nonverbal. So when I stopped working, I just chose to focus on him 24/7. And because obviously he's very dependent, that pushes me to come here regularly, because with all these free foods that we're getting, if you will buy this, it will be a big amount of money too.
And I understand for you, your wife is working as well, right? So you do have an income, but it's still not enough, right, to make ends meet?
For a family of 4 here in Winnipeg, right? If only one person has an income, everybody knows that it wouldn't be enough to survive. All the bills, rents, those mortgages of other people, right? If only one person is working, it wouldn't be enough.
For you, when you started coming here 8 months ago, was it hard to take that step and start coming here? Was there a stigma for you as someone who was working before?
Yeah, at first, right? Because I felt, because before everybody knew I have a good life, right? Everything is fine. And the stigma that I was experiencing that time is, what if somebody, right, from work before or a friend saw me coming to a food bank? But it came to a point that I don't care about what will other people say, as long as me and my family will survive. That's the most important thing.
My name is Joy Sen. So we have 5 in my family, and they are all teenagers. So I'm a proud mother of teenagers.
And they're hungry.
Of course they are. They eat double, all right.
So you said 4 teenagers. Tell me a little bit about Harvest. How long have you been coming here for?
I've been coming around 2 years. I've been coming to Harvest ever since I lost my full-time job, and I have a family to look after. So because I'm working part-time, this really supports me a little bit. So I come here once a month to pick something to add on to my groceries. So it's really helpful for me.
Yeah, what kind of difference does it make in terms of your budget? You were working full-time, now you're working part-time. Yeah, how much does that help you, make ends meet?
Yes, so when I come here and I grab some things, it kind of helps me budget the finances I have, to know what to buy and what not to buy, because I've got some from here and then I don't need to get some other things from the grocery store. So it kind of helps me budget myself and everything goes well.
When you were working full-time, did you need Harvest at all? That's when it made the difference, when all of a sudden you had to start coming. What was that like?
When I was working full-time, I was busy. So I could also support others, right? But now that I work part-time, I need support too. I need some little bit of support. Mm-hmm.
And what was that like coming to Harvest for the first time? Was that difficult? Was there a stigma there you had to navigate, or was it totally fine to start coming here?
When I was coming here, it's it's all about pride. I had to break the pride in me, and I had to be like, okay, now this is it. I have to do this. And when I reached here, I loved it. I liked it. I was like, okay, it's not that I'm broke. I can't get back on my feet, or I'm failing. It's just that I need some little help, and I can go through this.
That was Harvest client Joy Sen. You also heard from Malvin there. They represent just 2 families with children under 18 relying on Harvest Manitoba. That demographic is growing. And that's why we're here today, right? Our province, where we live, where we love, where we raise our kids, where we make our friends, has the highest child poverty rate in the whole country. And it's been that way for a very long time, Manitoba. Today, we come together to make this season kind on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Vince Barletta's here from Harvest. Let's see how folks did this morning. We have a total update here.
Yeah, new totals. We have 46,791 raised with the match. That's over $93,000. Another challenge as well from Old Timers Hockey, 2,000 from the Winnipeg Old Timers Club, challenging other Old Timers Hockey to donate today.
Hockey players going to step up. Come on. Vince, thank you for being here. I know you're with us for the day as our programming continues. What last word would you like to leave people with as they think about the need in our community?
Well, it takes a province to feed a province, Marcy, and, the generosity over the holidays. This is where we raise funds that we use all year long. And so if you and your family are doing okay and you have something to give, think about those tens of thousands of Manitobans who could use your support this holiday and all year round.
cbc.ca/kindmb. You can find links there, and you can also call in. We'll give you the number again right after our final newscast. Big thanks, though, to Arnold J. Look at the beautiful music. He switched gears, didn't play one of the tunes for us singing, but he's been playing us into the news with his beautiful guitar works. If you want to check out and support his music, please do. On Instagram, you can find this local artist at Arnold Jansen. That's 2 S's, Arnold Jansen 98. Music's such a big part as we continue to make the season kind here on CBC. The news is next.
This is CBC News. At 8:30, we're at minus 12 degrees with partly cloudy skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good morning. I'm Matt Humphrey. According to Harvest Manitoba, 1/3 of food bank users are employed. And while inflation causes higher prices for everyone, it disproportionately affects people who earn less. Jesse Hager is an associate professor of economics and labor studies at the University of Manitoba.
They saw those increase in costs, but their income didn't increase enough to offset that. So over the last few years, they've been actually worse off with respect to the rising cost of living.
Hager says he'd like to see more targeted programs indexed to inflation rather than tax cuts Manitobans have seen in the past. The Christmas Cheer Board says it'll be having a much happier holidays this year with new cash from the province. The government says it'll be selling stockpiles of U.S. liquor. American alcohol was pulled off shelves earlier this year as retaliation for steep levies on Canadian goods entering the United States. It's been sitting in warehouses ever since, but starting next week, some of that booze will be going back on sale, with the profits going to holiday charities in Winnipeg, Brandon, and Thompson. Shauna Bell is the executive director of the Cheer Board.
I'm absolutely stunned and speechless. I cannot believe what an early Christmas gift that is and just how incredible that's going to be, helping us get more food and toys into the hands of families and individuals here in Winnipeg.
Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries expects $500,000 could end up in charities' coffers. The American products will be on sale through Christmas Eve. And Premier Wab Kinew says his government is encouraging more grocery stores to open. Right now, real estate clauses limit what can open near existing grocery stores, limiting competition. MLAs passed a bill this spring to stop the practice with the hope it'll drive down food prices. This week, Kinew says there were 66 Manitoba locations affected when the legislation came into force.
There was a deadline this Monday for grocery chains to register these property controls. Guess how many there are now? 46. Yeah. That means just by passing a law, we scared 20 grocery locations into having more competition in the market.
Kinew has asked the Public Service Delivery Minister to challenge those remaining owners to lift the condition. But still, economic forecasts across the country suggest food prices will continue to climb in the coming year. Nisha Patel explains.
We're expecting another difficult year due to beef prices.
Sylvain Charlebois is a professor at Dalhousie University in Halifax. He says a lot of cattle ranchers are leaving the industry, and that's impacting inventory.
And because people are pivoting towards chicken, chicken prices are also on the rise.
Climate change is having a significant impact too, especially on products like coffee and cocoa.
So we need to think about how to make our supply chain more resilient from farm gate to store.
A family of four is expected to spend $17,600 on food in 2026, almost $1,000 more than this year. As Sabra Al-Harthi shops for her groceries in Toronto, she says she'll have to make some adjustments.
The prices are up, the rent is up, but the paycheck is still the same.
When it comes to food, she says there's only so much you can cut back. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
And finally, Christians in the 2S LGBTQ+ community hope to use faith and music to bring people together in Winnipeg and Steinbach. Messiah Queered is a new take on Handel's 18th century work Messiah. It musically tells the biblical story of Jesus Christ. Geneva Halverson is a soloist in the show, and they say helping share a Christian's story is important to them, especially this close to the holidays.
For me, that Christianity is for everyone. That it's not just for people that follow a certain set of rules, but it's for anyone that believes in God and Jesus, and that's to me what's so special about it.
The orchestra and singers debut their performance tonight at St. Mark's Lutheran Church in Winnipeg. A second show is at Grace Mennonite Church in Steinbach on Sunday. The show also has the support of the Steinbach United Church. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
All right. Big thanks to you, Matt.
Thanks for the week, Mark.
So that is Matt Humphrey in our news department. Thanks to everyone who worked in our news department and on all of our programs this week for our broadcasts. Today in particular, I do want to give special thanks to May McKillop, to Brian Harder, to Bruce Layden, to Jeff Stapleton and to Justin Dealey, who've been working to make sure that our musicians are properly, shown on our video, and also we can hear them out of our music studio this morning. Huge thanks to those who took part with us this morning. The Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir, Jocelyn Gould and Carl Kohut, and then Arnold J in the last half hour here. Thanks to Harvest Manitoba, and thanks to you as well. Corey is in, and I think Corey has our final donation total.
Yes, right now we're sitting at $46,791 with matching. That's over $93,000.
All right, what a morning. Thanks, Manitoba. Remember, all day we will continue to make the season kind. And please consider staying with us. We have some special things planned. On Radio Noon, they've got a special artist who's going to be there for the whole hour with them. And then in the afternoon, Up to Speed has a bit of a live audience. They've got a bit of a live component going on out in the community as well, with a chef who's going to be cooking, and it's going to be lots of fun as well and very joyous. Anything to say about traffic, Corey, before we go?
Northbound Archibald past Elizabeth, there are some emergency crews blocking that northbound curb lane and partially the middle lane as well, so use caution around that.
And Abby.
Light snow sweeping across the southern part of the province, and it's still brutally cold in the northern part of the province with those wind chills around -35. Winnipeg right now, we at -12, heading to -9.
982-3581. cbc.ca/kindmb. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Take care, Manitoba, and take care of each other. We'll talk to you again on Monday.